In the North Forbidden area, the strong are still respected. Before Qin Sheng's strength was just the real disciples of the 4 common inheritance places. However, he fought with 2 royal disciples and even Baelish from the White Tiger family. This group of little saints who eat melon are not stupid either. Qin Sheng is afraid to fight with the disciples of the 4 divine beast family. Moreover, he has cultivated 30 drops of holy power in the 6 holy regions. The most important thing is that the gorgeous women around Qin Sheng should be afraid to swallow the humiliation of their lives. Maybe some private saints secretly satirized Qin Sheng for eating soft food and shrinking his head. Behind a woman, he was not a man at all. Qin Sheng took the lead, and Wang Yang followed him carefully like a grandson behind him. This scene was also accepted by many saints, especially those true disciples from Qin sect, whose faces were gloomy, but they dared not speak. Say something? I'm kidding. Although they didn't know Qin Sheng for a long time, they have seen Qin Sheng's methods. Wang Shua, Wang Yang and Wang Yuan are good examples. As for the ending from Baelish, it's not so good. Boom. At this time, in the abyss, there was a violent wave over the tomb of the great sage, and a white tiger warship appeared in the eyes of countless people. No one was surprised. Naturally, the person who came here was Bai Lichue, who had been fighting with Qin Sheng. At this time, Bai Lichue has changed his armor, holding a sword and carrying a bow that emits a terrible atmosphere. Leaving Tuqing, Bai Lichue is full of fighting spirit, his eyes are bright, his eyebrows are sparkling, and his straight body is filled with terrible pressure. Shua. Bai Lish sighs, like the sharp sword spirit, swept a group of little saints outside the great saint's tomb, and finally his fierce eyes fell on Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng. Bai Liche gave a low cry. The voice was very small, but the anger contained was so powerful that it was frightening. Qin Sheng narrowed his eyes and met Bai Liche's sharp eyes. There was no displeasure on his clean face, not even a little impatience. Oh, the Bailey brothers are here. Qin Sheng laughed, stamped his feet, and the halo of the 6 holy bodies burst out in an instant. He came to the white tiger warship in the air and looked at Baelish from afar. Who is your brother? Bai Lichue's sword instinctively grasped. The sword had already produced the spirit of weapon. He could feel the burning anger in his heart. He said in a deep voice, Qin Sheng, do you know your blood and identity? What qualification do you have to be brother to my white tiger family? In Baelish's view, Qin Sheng is just a cold door disciple from a remote area. His father, Qin Zhongtian, doesn't know what medicine has been given to the saint daughter of the Zhuke family to marry in cold door. Hearing this, Qin Sheng's eyebrows slightly coagulated. He knew that Bai Lichue looked down on him, but it was also good. He didn't need to cover up. Then talk less nonsense. There is only one tomb of the great sage, and the seeds of the 1,000-star tree are estimated to be few. Your white tiger family has a great career, and all of us who lead families can't stand the tossing. Qin Sheng grinned and said, why don't you go in first? What a coward. Do you want my young master to be cannon fodder? Bai Lichue didn't make a sound, so his maid couldn't help but come out and scold him. The roasted sparrow essence is her Taoist partner, so she just hates Qin Sheng. Well? Qin Sheng's eyes shone with golden light. It was a golden eye. Now his spirit realm is a little stronger than the ordinary little saints. Of course, it's better than some new little saints, but it's also very powerful. The higher the spirit realm is, the better the effect of golden eye. Golden light, electric light, fire, and stone shot a maid with some beauty, whose accomplishments also reached the small holy land. Cut, it's another sparrow essence, but this time it's a female sparrow. Qin Shengmoguang said, you hate me, do you want to be roasted by me? Qin Zhongtian has taught Qin Sheng to stay and sleep at present, but that's for the 4 god beast family. Qin Sheng is just a maid who scolds Qin Sheng at present. Qin Sheng doesn't have to bear it. Baelish's maid was scared to lose color, and she hid behind Baelish in an instant, which made the little saints who ate melons in the distance feel very strange. You are still a little saint, and you are so afraid of Qin Sheng. What's the matter? Of course, that group of melon eaters is just in their mind and can't say it. In the face of Qin Sheng's intimidation, Bai Lichui's face was livid. He felt that he had been forbearing, which made Qin Sheng more and more excessive. Qin Sheng, what do you mean? Shouted Bai Lichui. Sound like thunder, but also contains the supreme power, set off a terrible shock wave, spread to the distance. Roar. Chatter. The terrible pressure makes the movement really too big, which makes the corpses on both sides of the abyss seem to have the sign of waking up, and makes the little saints want to be numb. The corpses that lie here are not for fun. Each corpse's breath is not much weaker than the little Holy Land. The most terrible thing is that the coffins here really bury thousands of troops, more than 100,000, maybe close to 1,000,000. Once all of them are awakened, no one wants to face the terrible situation they face. Your people don't have no experience of entering the tomb, and I believe you have information about the tomb. Qin Sheng said quietly, what's more, your four-god beast family is famous and proud. Take out your self-esteem and go in. We'll follow you and drink soup. As soon as the words came to an end, a group of melon-eating young saints were all stunned. They are all valued as little saints. No one has ever seen them, but they are the first time to see such shameless people as Qin Sheng. Sure enough, Bai Lichui's nose is askew, and a pair of nostrils should be sprayed with fire. Let us white tigers be cannon fodder, dream. Bai Lichui firmly refused. Hufu is here. Dare you violate it? Qin Sheng raised the bronze amulet high, and Bai Lichui's face changed dramatically. He stared at the bronze amulet in Qin Sheng's hand, and then his fierce eyes locked on Zhao Lin, and he said in a deep voice, such treasures as the amulet, how can you give it to others at will? Zhao Lin, with blonde hair and blue eyes, didn't put her eyes in the face of Hundred Lichui's pressing questions. Let's broaden our horizons. The world is very big, and we are not constrained by your so-called four-god beast family. Zhao Lin's voice is really pleasant. Listening to her, it's like playing the most beautiful instrument in the world. Hufu is a treasure in your eyes, but for me, it's just a gadget. When people heard this, they dared not speak out one by one. They dared to compare the Baihu's amulets to a gadget of little value. Absolutely no one dared to speak out such words. But Zhao Lin said it, and from her tone, she didn't pretend to be forced, just to be honest. Baelish's face is blue and iron. The anger in his chest is burning his lungs. Others may not know it, but Baelish knows that Zhao Lin can't afford to offend at present, because she comes from the upper kingdom, Tianyuan land. No matter the status or the strength of temperament, it is far beyond his Hundred Lichui. Maybe only the strongest members of the White Tiger family can compete with her. Baelish said in his heart that he was not convinced, but he could not attack it, because once he fought with Zhao Lin, he would not say whether he won or not, even if he won. Once the mysterious businessman went to the White Tiger family to ask for help, Baelish would never be able to eat it. Zhao Lin can't be provoked, but for Qin Sheng, Bai Lichui can still compete. Qin Sheng. Hundred Lichui roars Wei, even if you have Hufu, I will not listen to you. The amulet given by others, your name is not right, your words are not right. Smell speech, Qin Sheng shrugged, Wei, that doesn't matter. Since the white tigers don't go ahead. Qin Sheng points Wang Yang shivering in the distance. Wang Yangmeng is confused. He hid well. He didn't dare to breathe too much. He just didn't want to attract attention and cause disaster. But it never occurred to me that such a big black pot fell down. No, I'm not going in. I'm not interested in that star tree. Wang Yang desperately shook his head to refuse, and then pointed to Xiao Zhan, saying, Xiao Zhan has been in, he is more experienced than me. Jiahui. Qin Sheng shouted. Jiahui understood, suppressed Wang Yang directly, and then threw him into the tomb of the great sage. The tomb of the great sage is full of yin qi, and there has been a big gap. I don't know whether it is the collapse of the tomb of the great sage along with the historical years or the stolen hole left by the predecessors. No, I don't want it. Wang Yang struggles desperately. He went into the great saint's tomb to know what terrible creatures there were. However, Jiahui's suppression did not allow him to refuse. In the gap of the tomb of the great sage, Wang Yang's scream soon came out, and then he heard the sound of bones breaking and teeth chewing. Then, Wang Yang's scream came to an abrupt end, and a group of little saints who ate melons suddenly felt their scalp numb. It seems that there are some horrible creatures in it, and Wang Yang will be solved immediately. Hula. Just when people were confused, a sound of chain came out, and the black fog rolled out. No, what is that? Is that poisonous smoke? There was chaos outside the tomb of the great sage. Countless people tried to avoid it, but they could do nothing. The black curtain is like a black poisonous snake. It's very fast. Even if Qin Sheng and others didn't react, they were swallowed. Qin Sheng was also startled. In the face of the fierce black fog, he lit up 30 drops of Holy Land power in his body in an instant, sacrificed the great will Holy Land, held a stone sword in his hand, and even the steel of heaven was meditated. But it didn't help. It couldn't resist the black fog. Don't struggle. This is the power of the ancient great sage. It has almost reached the threshold of the king. At the critical moment, Zhao Lin's voice came from Qin Sheng's mind. Qin Sheng knew that Zhao Lin was once a great saint. He only lowered his cultivation to the Holy Land in order to descend to the forbidden area in the north. At this time of life and death, Qin Sheng estimated that Zhao Lin would not pit him. Sure enough, the black fog just swallowed him up and then moved him to another space. Dark, cold, decadent atmosphere is the eternal theme of this strange space. Where is this? Jiahui's old voice was shaking with 2 points. He had just been scared to pee, and he was a saint. Although his strength hasn't returned to the peak yet, he didn't have any resistance to that black fog. Jiahui thought he was just about to cool, but he didn't expect to have a trace of life. He felt Qin Sheng's life breath. I'm here. Qin Sheng sent a message to Jiahui, and the range of the message here was greatly reduced. If he didn't sign a soul contract with Jiahui, he couldn't merge with Jiahui so quickly. My lord. Jiahui stood behind Qin Sheng. We have no contact with Lord Long Dawei. Qin Sheng nodded. Not only Long Dawei, Xiao Zhan and Xiao Yu, Shangguan Shiyu and Shangguan Dufei, but also the most powerful Zhao Lin lost contact with them. This should be the real tomb of the great sage. Qin Sheng looked around and found that it was covered by thick black fog. He could see that it was a huge palace, but he didn't know how many years had passed. The array covered here had been broken for a long time, even some of the array eyes were exposed. The tomb of the great sage is in a semi-abandoned state. The true tomb of the great sage? Jiahui frowned and said in a deep voice, It's dark and cold here. The array seems to have been destroyed. If so, who activated the array and swallowed us in? Qin Sheng shakes his head. He activates his golden eyes. His eyes are shining with gold. His vision is much better in a moment. Previously, with the naked eye alone, he could only see a distance of about 50 or 60 meters at most. Now he can see a distance of 500 meters by directly using his golden eyes. Shwa. A dark shadow passed in a flash, with a rotten smell. What is that? Qin Sheng felt a little uneasy, because the black shadow didn't look like a good thing. These bones don't seem to be buried together. Then Qin Sheng saw a lot of skeletons in this huge underground palace. It seemed that they had been eaten before they died, and some of them were still bleeding. What the hell, get out of here! At this time, the palace burst into a burst of drinking, and terrible waves came from it. That was the after effect of the little saint's battle, which was very powerful. Qin Sheng takes Jiehui to see what's going on. I saw a black armor man attacking a black shadow crazily. The speed of that black shadow was too fast. Qin Sheng was too far away to catch it. I can imagine how fast that black shadow was. Pooh. The attack speed of that dark shadow is too fast. Every attack, the man with black armor is cut a piece of meat. Less than 10 breaths, the man with black armor loses his breath and falls to the cold ground with a bang. The shadow finally stopped. This time, Qin Sheng finally saw the true face of the shadow. His body is the size of a monkey, but it's all black, full of sharp tusks, protruding eyes. His whole body is like being fished out of the water, full of rotten breath. Ghoul. Qin Sheng couldn't help but exclaim in amazement that if it wasn't a place of extreme pain and had a lot of corpses, they could become ghouls only by devouring each other. The strength of ghouls is not as strong as imagined. Qin Sheng's eyes are fixed on the ghouls that devour the bodies of dead black armor men. In fact, they can only match the accomplishments of the 7 or 8 heavy human warriors in Holy Land. But the speed of the ghoul is extremely fast, even faster than the ordinary little Holy Land, and as long as its head is not cut off, the ghoul can heal instantly even if it is injured too badly. According to the inheritance and memory of the Emperor, the most terrible thing for a ghoul is not its fangs, but its deep-seated poison. It's not the poison of the king of corpses, but the one that can turn over a little saint. If it's not a strong person who has amazing defense or is good at detoxification, it's very difficult to escape from the sky in the face of ghouls. What ghoul? Jiehui is a little confused when he listens to it, but he hasn't cultivated to the eye of gold. The field of vision in this great holy tomb hasn't been improved by Qin Sheng, so he can't see the true appearance of the ghoul. Suddenly, Jiehui's face changed dramatically, his voice trembled, and he said, "Don't tell me, sir, it's the legendary thing that eats people and doesn't spit bones, right?" Shoo, no voice. Qin Sheng sends a message to Jiehui to keep him from sounding. However, it's too late. The ghoul, who was eating with his head down, looks up and his mouth is full of blood and flesh. He squints and obviously finds Qin Sheng and Jiehui. Qin Sheng's body has become 6 holy bodies. For those ghouls, the delicious degree of flesh and blood is much higher than that of ordinary little holy cities. It's hard to cultivate 1 holy body, let alone 6 holy bodies. Chatter. The ghoul spits out a tongue 2 or 3 meters long, full of rotten breath, and with barbs. It makes a strange sound, which makes people feel numb. Then it locks Qin Sheng. Shwa. The speed of ghouls is extremely fast. It can really match the speed of lightning, far faster than the speed of ordinary small Holy Land. Chong. Qin Sheng felt a stabbing pain in his arm, followed by the smell of decay and blood. Then he looked down and saw that his arm had been bitten. Fortunately, he wore the dark gold armor given by Qin Sheng. It was indestructible. According to Qin Sheng, this armor came from the ancient times and was intact. It was beyond the category of spiritual weapons. Even with Qin Sheng's current strength, he didn't fully integrate it into his body, because this dark gold armor is too noble. It was not for the martial artists in the Holy Land, but for the great sage. Qin Sheng had to fully integrate himself into the body, play his greatest role, and at least achieve the cultivation of the little Holy Land. In other words, with Qin Sheng's current strength, he can't play half of the defense of this dark golden armor. According to Qin Sheng's experience, he is wearing this dark gold armor. If he wants to hurt his people, his strength must be at the lowest level in the middle and later stages of the small Holy Land, or even at the peak. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to hurt him. Qin Sheng pulled up the dark gold armor and found that there was a row of teeth marks on his arm. Despite the protection of the armor and his 6 holy bodies, he bit such a big tooth mark. Such a horrible bite force, it's hard for the little Holy Land to fight. Qin Sheng couldn't help but take a breath of cool air. The extremely fast speed, the amazing bite force, and the corpse poison that can easily poison the little saint, the strength of the little saint's territory in this great saint's tomb survival ability plummets. Like Jiahui, if there is no Qin Sheng, it will definitely become a diet for ghouls. Pain. The ghoul is amazing and can blurt out human words. It takes a deep look at Qin Sheng, then makes a sharp voice, then turns into a black lightning again, and pours at Qin Sheng. Chong. Qin Sheng's body is really hard enough, the ghoul can't bite at all, and Qin Sheng can't catch it. Pooh. Qin Sheng cut off 3 swords in a row, and the gray spirit attack had no effect on the ghoul. What to do? Qin Sheng didn't have any way. He couldn't match the speed of ghouls at all. Even if he had a good eye, he was still a little worse. The ghoul obviously knew that Qin Sheng was not easy to provoke. He was absolutely a hard bone. In this case, he changed his goal and took Jiahui away with 1 bite. No, my lord, help me. Jiahui cried for help loudly. He activated his Holy Land. Although he slowed down the speed of ghouls, it was too fast. Holy Land of the Great Wheel. Qin Sheng could only die as a living horse doctor, lighting up the power of 30 drops of Holy Land. His breath suddenly rose to the small Holy Land, and the scope of the Great Wheel Holy Land suddenly covered the ghoul who was running away with Jiahui. Rumble. The giant Wheel Holy Land shoots a mysterious light beam, which suddenly shoots the ghoul, and then absorbs the Holy Land force. The huge grinding wheel, which was made from the hallucination of the heaven steel, suddenly crushed the ghouls. The bones of the ghouls had no existence and turned them into the most pure energy. How could this happen? Qin Sheng was very surprised. He had no idea that his Holy Land had such ability. The flesh body of the ghoul is not so good, as long as it is held back, it will be directly crushed by the Holy Land of Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng and Jiahui continued to walk in the ruined palace for the rest of their lives. Before long, they saw an acquaintance. He was haunted by 3 ghouls. When he was alive or dead, the 5-finger mountain was about to crack. Wang Yuan? Qin Sheng, who was gloating at the opera, didn't plan to rescue him. His grudges with the royal family were over, which killed Wang Yang indirectly. Wang Yuan was badly hurt. 1 arm had been bitten away. He suddenly found Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng, you and I will cooperate and leave here. Wang Yuanchuanian seeks cooperation, I can give you Lei Hu Jin. Qin Sheng sneered, shook his head and refused, I'm not interested in cooperation. You. Wang Yuan is desperate. He threw Wuzishan at Qin Sheng and tried to attack Qin Sheng. Then he could escape. Lei Hu Jin? Is Qin Sheng short? Not to mention Lei Hu Jin, even the 1,000-star elixir, Qin Sheng is not short of it. As a result, his spirit realm has reached the 6 holy spirits that can rival the little Holy Land. As a result, he has a seat in the mysterious business, and there is no lack of the 1,000-star elixir at all. What's Wang Yuan's idea? Qin Sheng doesn't know? Boom. Wang Yuan felt that his mind was struck by lightning, and there was a blank. His face was as gray as death, and he manipulated Wuzishan to attack Qin Sheng severely. It's a pity that Qin Sheng had psychological preparation for a long time. Without any hesitation, he activated the power of 30 drops of Holy Land in his body. He carried the stone sword and ran the 9 death magic skill crazily. To the 5-finger mountain that came down to the sky was to cut a sword. The sword light flickered for a while, not to mention how bright it was, but it broke out with terrible power. With a click, the Wuzishan mountain, which was at the end of the crossbow, finally reached its limit and was shaken by Qin Sheng's stone sword. Then there are more and more cracks, and finally, with a bang, they become fragments. Pooh! Wang Yuan spits out a mouthful of old blood, his body is sluggish for a moment, and a ghoul severely bites his arm. Go away, beast! It's a pity that the speed of a ghoul can match that of a little sage. Where can Wang Yuan touch? Poof! Wang Yuan is in despair. He spits out his blood essence, and in the center of his brow shoots a shadow of the Great Bank, which is their ancestor. Oh? Activate the life-saving mark of the ancestors of the royal family? Qin Sheng hides far away. Like Jiehui, he hides all the breath in his body. He looks at it from the sky. The power is great, and with terrible pressure, it's far beyond the ordinary little holy land. He hesitates too far away. Qin Sheng doesn't dare to use his eyes. He's afraid to be stared at by a group of ghouls, even though his great will Holy Land just controls these things. The emperor of the royal family was so intimidating that he used a knife. The ghoul he killed around Wang Yuan was a knife. The blade was so bright that it lit up the whole palace. The void was split. Some ghouls who had no time to escape were swallowed up by the void cracks. The sword light is sharp, and the speed of ghouls is extremely fast, but the sword of the ancestors of the royal family is even faster, which is to destroy and pull the dead and take away all life. The sword is bright and the sword is gone. All the ghouls that surround Wang Yuan are turned into powder. Bang! Wang Yuan can't help falling on the cold ground. He looks up at the disappearing shadow of Wang's ancestor. Thank you very much for your help, but I haven't lived long. Wang Yuan's face is pale. He has been poisoned. If he didn't lose his arm in the peak period, he might be able to leave the tomb alive. Unfortunately, he is poisoned by the corpse. There are heaven and earth in the tomb, and there are ghouls everywhere. There is no way to leave. Moreover, the power of the ancestor's forehead can only temporarily frighten the group of ghouls. As long as the power of the ancestor disappears in a while, the ghouls in the distance will find themselves following the bloody smell. One day is Qin Sheng. I'm not willing to take him on the back. Wang Yuan also did not pretend, exhausted the full strength of the cry Qin Sheng heard in the distance, showing a cold face. The servants of the 4 beast families came out to build the king's family. They were disgusting. They even wanted to hold me on the back when they were dying. Qin Sheng sneered, I really want to go up and mend his sword. Finally, Qin Sheng suppressed his anger. He doesn't want to be cheated. Who knows what big gift bag Wang Yuan has waiting for him. Sure enough, after a quarter of an hour, the majesty of the old ancestor of the royal family disappeared completely, as if he had never been here before. And the corpse poison of Wang Yuan had invaded the spirit. He was unwilling, because Qin Sheng had not been deceived. Chatter. Several disgusting ghouls came along with the smell of blood. After a tentative attack, they found that Wang Yuan had no attack ability. Finally, they rushed in. Boom. Wang Yuan blew himself up with several unknown energy bombs in his hand. His power has exceeded the power of ordinary little holy land. The ghoul was buried with him. At the moment of Wang Yuan's self-explosion, Qin Sheng could feel a dangerous breath from his sharp spirit, and he was far away from the explosion area in advance. The higher the realm of spirit, the stronger the ability of alertness and prediction. Qin Sheng once heard that Long Dawei boasted that one of his masters was also a descendant of an immortal. He had noble blood. Even if the real gods saw the master of Long Dawei, they would kneel and kowtow. That's a real god. He has a long and almost immortal life. Such a noble and terrible existence even reveres the immortal people. There's no way. In the deepest wasteland of 9 days and 10 places, there are indeed immortal descendants. Their blood and identity are much more noble than that of the Protoss, and they will not be born once in 10 million years. Of course, this is just the boast of Long Dawei. He said that his master and son are extremely terrible and can dream ahead of time. A dream is 3,000 years, that is to say, 9 days and 10 places in the next 3,000 years, and he can all know ahead of time what will happen 3,000 years. It's a bit frightening. Ordinary people fight in the battlefield all the year round and foresee the danger in advance at the moment of life and death. That's very powerful. Long Dawei even boasted that his former master could foresee the future 3,000 years in advance. Qin Sheng didn't believe it at first, but with the improvement of his spiritual realm, his prediction of danger was more and more advanced. He had already achieved this kind of achievement because of the difference between his level of cultivation and that of immortal people. If he reached the level of little saint, great saint, even Saint King, Qin Sheng's spirit realm would only be more powerful. Maybe one day Qin Sheng will be able to reach the level of immortality. A dream of 3,000 years is not impossible. The space of the great saint's tomb is too large, the palace is continuous, coupled with the obstruction of black fog, Qin Sheng can't fly in the sky, and soon he met 2 acquaintances. Zhao Lin and Baelish? The 2 fought on their own, killing dozens of ghouls together. Dozens of ghouls, each of them can easily eat a warrior in the 9 holy regions, even a warrior in a small holy region, but it only takes a little more time and eats a few more. Zhao Lin's blonde hair is flying wantonly. She is holding a sword. Her robe has been changed into a battle armor. She doesn't know how to use it. It looks like power on the surface, but it's full of variables. A shower of sword rain comes. Poop poop. Dozens of ghouls were killed in an instant and turned into a massive carrion. Qin Sheng also used the sword. At the beginning, he also understood the meaning of sword, but now he has come all the way. Qin Sheng didn't cultivate any advanced sword techniques, but also simply stabbed several swords to suppress the opponent with terrible power. It's not so much to use a sword as to smash a stone arrow with a stick. It's powerful and powerful enough to descend 10 times with one force. It's more powerful than any advanced sword technique. However, when Qin Sheng saw Zhao Lin's sword technique, it suddenly changed, because her sword technique was more mysterious than Lin Guan, and he couldn't tell the difference. Anyway, the power is not great, but it can achieve terrible results. With one sword, a dozen of ghouls will be killed. Good swordsmanship. Qin Sheng couldn't help shouting. On the other hand, Bai Lichui's face was grim. He also used his sword. The terrible sword light rushed to the sky and turned into a big sun. The sun was dazzling. He didn't wait for Qin Sheng to show his golden eyes before he could barely see clearly. It wasn't any sunshine at all, but a terrible blade. The speed of the blade is too fast, much faster than that of the ordinary little holy city. The power contained in the blade storm is awesome. Although it's not as idle as Zhao Lin, after a few breaths, dozens of ghouls are killed. The swordsmanship of both of them contains the highest mystery, which is much better than those of the 36 dynasties in the wasteland. Qin Sheng couldn't help but contrast secretly. He didn't practice any skills all the way. It's a 9 death magic skill. The body can't die. Even if it's dead, it can come back to life. After a sleep, it's a hero. It's brilliant. It can be regarded as a talent. It can't be understood for no reason. But now it's only limited to breaking through the array and making use of the leakage of treasures. There are few other stone swords, soul seals, and even martial arts skills. To put it mildly, Qin Sheng's physical talent is too strong. To put it mildly is his weak theoretical foundation. Although Qin Sheng refined the inheritance and memory of the emperor himself was extremely short of other martial arts and practices. He also knew a little about the fur under the Holy Land, and even the martial arts above the Holy Land, even the king and the emperor. The art industry has its own specialty. Emperor Wanjie has a deep knowledge of Dandao. His body has also refined a piece of Danhua that can burn all things. His defense and attack are also very strong. As for the body refining of Kendo, it is really lacking. In fact, it's also the reason why Emperor Wanjie focuses on Dandao, and why he is very proud. He thinks that if he can refine the pill, there will be a group of followers. If he can burn all things with a single breath of Dan fire, he will be in a desperate situation if he misses people around him. Qin Sheng, are you okay? At this time, Zhao Lin finally found Qin Sheng and flew towards him. It's safe all the way. Qin Sheng replied with a smile in his mouth. Some people's lives are really hard enough, he said coldly. Qin Sheng didn't pay attention to Bailish's sarcasm, but talked with Zhao Lin. If I'm not wrong, these ghouls are just the layout of the great sage. To leave here, you have to go to the main tomb. Zhao Lin said in a deep voice. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, a breath of yin rushed to the sky, and the sound of Tielian sounded, and the terrible breath rolled into the tomb. What a strong corpse gas! Zhao Lin, Qin Sheng and Bailish's faces changed dramatically. Then they saw a dark shadow coming out. No, the dead saint has become a corpse spirit and wakes up. The three men blurted out at the same time, their voices trembling, and their faces were hard to see. That terrible corpse gas, unprecedented rich, the terrible pressure contained in corpse gas is more powerful than the real human saint. Who? The black fog receded like the tide, and the whole palace was restored to its view. All the people swallowed by the black fog died 9 times. The ordinary disciples of the whole fire hall are all dead. Xiao Zhan is bitten by an arm. As for Xiao Yun, she died directly. Shang Guanxiu is lucky. She and Long Dawei met very soon. She was once chased by ghouls. Fortunately, everything is very dangerous. Qin Sheng, senior sister, Xiao Yun is dead. Seeing Qin Sheng, Shang Guanxiu pours into his arms and tells the story of the tragedy. Long Dawei also shrugged and said in a deep voice, my current strength is that I can only take one person to escape. Can we leave alive? Shang Guanxiu couldn't help asking. It's really too tragic here. It's not something that can be touched by the martial artists in Holy Land. Even the cultivation of small Holy Land can only exist as cannon fodder here, and only the arrogant people in Holy Land who have all kinds of life-saving cards, such as Qin Sheng and Zhao Lin, can go through the first wave of attack. Other disciples in the fire hall are not included. They are only registered disciples with low accomplishments. But elder martial sister Xiao Yun is not the same. A real disciple of the true generation worshipped a little saint as a teacher in the Heilong Mountain Temple. Her death made Qin Sheng feel faintly that someone might be angry with him when he returns to Heilong Mountain Temple. However, she may have to stay in Yunming days. She met with a dream thief before. If Qin Sheng didn't show up, she would have died. In the dark, maybe it's destined one day. Elder martial brother Xiao Zhan, I will detoxify you. Qin Sheng comes to elder martial brother Xiao Zhan's side. His lost broken arm has been digested by an unknown ghoul. If you want to find it, you can't find it back. Unless Xiao Zhan can cultivate to the terrible state of rebirth with blood, otherwise, Xiao Zhan will be a one-armed great xia. The corpse poison of ghouls is a terrible poison for the general Holy Land, even for a little saint. But for Qin Sheng, the so-called poison in the North Forbidden Area is not as strong as his 9 death skill. The air of 9 death permeates into elder martial brother Xiao Zhan's body. After a few breaths, Xiao Zhan's face is ready again, and the exhausted Yuan Li is slowly restored. Well? Bai Li Chui, who has been watching from afar, frowns. It is obvious that Qin Sheng's detoxification ability is far beyond his imagination. With this talent, it seems that he is no less than Bai Li Chui. In addition to Qin Sheng's other talents, the 6 holy regions refine 30 drops of holy region power, and a large part of it is the holy region power of holy stripe. Now it seems that there is a certain reason why the mysterious businessman from the Tianyuan mainland chose Qin Sheng and didn't look up to him. Think of here, Hundredly Che had thick envy. Ha ha, most of the so-called geniuses are short-lived ghosts, and few of them can finally become great saints. Bai Li Chui sneers at him and says, whatever genius you are, as long as you die here. Bai Li Chui's face changed, with a series of plans. Clang and clang. The black fog disappears completely, but the sound of the chain makes them shiver, because what fool can live to the present is absolutely not. The corpse gas is so terrible, so frightening, what terrible corpse spirit can come out? Blood, I'm mouth thirsty. At last, the great saint-level corpse spirit appeared, and the remaining 10 Taoist eyes were momentarily dull. The green fur armor of the whole body has already been broken and ragged. There is a ferocious wound on the chest. Besides the wound, there is a shroud. I don't know what kind of blood has been stained with. Up to now, it is still shining green. The body of the great saint is very big. It looks like a human being, but its head is with ox horn and helmet. It makes people can't see the real face clearly. What shocked Qin Sheng most is that the great saint's body has 3 heads and 6 arms. Of the 6 arms, 3 were cut, but the outline could still be seen. 3 heads and 6 arms is a kind of supernatural power in ancient times. It only exists above 9 days and 10 lands. I didn't expect that there was still a North Forbidden Area. I don't know if there was any origin between the North Forbidden Area and 9 days and 10 lands in ancient times, or how could it stay here? Clang and clang. The air of corpse makes the whole palace look like the world's annihilation day. The feet of the unknown great holy land corpse are twined with chains, the dark golden light is twinkling, and the covered spirit lines are invisible to Qin Sheng. What is he holding? Qin Sheng's eyes were deep and bright, but he could not see what the spirit of the great holy land was holding. Something's not right. Qin Sheng sends a message to Zhao Lin. Here, Qin Sheng feels that Zhao Lin is the only one who can compete with the corpse in front of him. Maybe that Hundredly Che can leave here alive, but it's only speculation after all. Zhao Lin's blue eyes were shining brightly. She said, it's locked by the chain, and the spirit pattern on the chain is very complicated, and it's very close to the treasure pattern. Fuwen, Lingwen, Baowen, the strongest nature is Baowen. Under the great holy land, what is cultivated is only the holy stripe. It is said that only the level above the holy king can touch the holy stripe. That's the holy king. It can be seen that the holy stripe is so hard to understand. A great saint, if not a peerless son of heaven, will never be able to refine a wisp of treasure patterns. Every precious grain is extremely precious. As for the treasure, it's a weapon that can only be possessed by the king or even the emperor. If the life weapon of the powerful in the great holy land can be melted into a precious grain, it's also extremely precious and becomes a treasure. And the chains on the feet of the great holy land corpse in front of him actually smelt the treasure lines, which is amazing. Even in the Tianyuan continent, such a big hand is rare. Zhao Lin's eyes twinkled, and the implication was that the great sage might have been in a high position before his death, and he didn't know what he had suffered. He died from then on, and his descendants were afraid of his death, so they used the chain of melted treasure patterns to trap him. All of a sudden, the corpse spirit of the great holy land began to work. Although his feet were melted by a precious treasure grain, they were indestructible and could not run out of the tomb, but they had 3 heads and 6 arms. Although 3 heads have been beheaded, 2 heads and 3 arms, there is still 1 head and 3 arms. As soon as he opened his mouth, a black fog fell on the 2 small Holy Land warriors in the distance like rolling wolf smoke. No, please give us a hand. Those 2 are just casual practitioners, not from the top 10 families or 4 inheritance places. If they can cultivate in the small Holy Land, they will naturally have their own chance. Their strength is also the peak among the small Holy Land. However, in the face of the great Holy Land, there is no way for the corpse to turn over, and no one is there to save it. I'm kidding. It's the corpse spirit of the great Holy Land. There's no great saint here. Who can suppress it? Everyone left in disorder. Bang! Bang! The 2 were placed on the god-level corpse spirit by the black fog. It opened its blood plate and directly turned into blood fog. At this time, all martial arts, mental skills, and life-saving methods didn't work. The power of the great saint level is no longer the power of the little saint level. Flesh and blood, beautiful. Corpse spirits have no memory of their own life, they only like flesh and blood. Those little saints who want to escape in disorder are very fast, but how can they reach the 3 heads and 6 arms of the great saint-level corpse spirits? The 3 little saints who wanted to escape were caught by the great saint-level corpse spirits' hands. With a little effort, they turned into 3 groups of blood fog. The corpse spirit opened his mouth and sucked up all the flesh and blood. There was no waste at all. Is this the power of the great sanctuary? It's too bloody, too brutal. All the living people's faces changed dramatically, including Qin Sheng. He also felt that the corpse spirit in the great Holy Land was almost invincible, and he was thinking about how to leave alive. As for the 1,000-star tree, we should save our lives first. You can't escape. At this time, Barish sent a message to all the people present, let's join hands. According to my information, there is a large array here. Once activated, it can suppress the corpse. The array I is in the main tomb. Only I can know. I need your help to hold this corpse. Hundredly Che's words also don't know, can believe. Zhao Lin and Qin Sheng looked at each other. I'll go into the main tomb. You and Zhao Lin are here to hold the corpse. Qin Sheng squinted and said. Hundredly Che smell speech, the facial expression immediately sinks. Why? Qin Sheng said with a smile, I have many people. If you enter the main tomb, what if you escape? At that time, we will not lose a lot. Qin Sheng said everyone's voice. I agree. Zhao Lin said indifferently. I agree, too. Xiao Zhan, Jia Hui, etc. Bai Lichui's face was blue. Unexpectedly, Qin Sheng saw through his plan. However, in the stage of life and death, Bai Lichui had no choice. Now, life is the most important thing. Swear by your soul that you will not move the treasures in the main tomb. Barish put forward his last request. The funerary objects in the main tomb will be redistributed after the war. Good. Qin Sheng is also straightforward, the eyebrows and the heart split, forcing out a drop of soul blood, and Hundredly Che made a soul oath. Then, Bai Li shared all the information about the tomb with Qin Sheng. Roar. The corpse spirit of the great saint level is violent, and all the people have done their best, but 2 little saints have been deprived of their lives. Boom. Although the great saint-level corpse spirit is suppressed by a chain of melted treasure patterns, it is still as easy to harvest the little saint's life in this cemetery as grass mustard. That's Xiaosheng. One by one, his reputation in the forbidden area in the north is far-reaching. Unexpectedly, he died here inexplicably. Me. The holy blood with the crystal grain poured down from the top of the tomb like a rainstorm. Everyone, don't hide your hidden strength. Let Qin Sheng enter the main tomb to activate the array together to temporarily draw away this great holy corpse. His face was extremely cold, he said in a deep voice. The power of the great sage is too terrible. Even if he comes from the four gods and beasts family, he is also the disciple of the white tiger family. Even if his purity is not very high, he has no awakening talent. However, it is also extremely powerful for the General Jiucheng Holy Land strongman. He once participated in the hunting and killing of a great sage who was driven to death by the old. He is too old and weak to be a great saint of war. He also went to encircle and kill with a group of legitimate disciples of the Holy Land of the family. At first, Baelish thought that the power of the great saint-level corpse would not be too strong even if it was awakened. But now he has miscalculated. The great saint-level corpse in front of him is so powerful that he can't fight without awakening his blood. The white tiger comes to the world, and all animals submit. Baili Che said in a loud voice, unexpectedly with some vast breath, his body suddenly expanded a few points, a terrible breath in the recovery, in its back even suspended a white tiger's shadow. The white tiger is a holy beast. It is said that the blood of the real dragon is in the body. It is very noble and once could become immortal. As soon as the white tiger's shadow appeared, the breath of Hundredly Che suddenly soared, surpassing the little holy land and reaching the threshold of the great holy land. In the distance, Xiao Zhan, Shang Wendufi, and other people stared at their pockets. They were also in Holy Land. Why did they have such excellent Baelish? Even if they woke up the power of Zumai, they even touched the threshold of the great sage with one hand. It's worthy of being the direct disciple of the four divine beast family. I'm a little short of the fire when I go to the office to fly. Shang Wendufi has achieved a greater level than Baelish, but it has not reached this level, and the fire is still lacking. At this time even Zhao Lin couldn't help looking at Baelish more, but she soon took back her eyes. She used to be a saint, with a high vision. She knew that this was not Baelish's own power, but the power of her ancestors. Roar. As soon as the shadow of the white tiger appeared, it caused the anger of the corpse spirit in the great holy land. The eyes covered by the helmet even gave out the light of oil green. It was full of fighting spirit. The remaining 3 arms had to suppress Baelish. Bang! The white tiger's empty shadow is just struggling against a few breathing times, and then it is shaken away. Poof! Bakul spits out 3 liters. He looks at the corpse spirit of the great holy land in horror. His eyes are full of disbelief. This is the power of the true saint? Bai Lichui murmured, too strong, I'm not his opponent. I will. Zhao Lin was carrying a sword, just like 9 heavenly Zuan came down from the sky. The sky began to rain with sword. Soon, she was angry and frosty, and then she turned into an ice phoenix. Ice phoenix is lifelike, with numerous and mysterious patterns on its surface. There is even a ray of precious light in its eyes. Is that Baowen? Between lightning and flint, Bai Li Che couldn't help but have such a trace of doubt. He knows Baowen. As a disciple of the White Tiger family, Baowen is not untouched. But even in the family, Baowen is very precious. The disciples of Holy Land may only contact once or twice. There will be broken treasure weapons at the level of small Holy Land, which should be borrowed in turn, and need to spend a lot of resources within the family to change. Baowen has great effect, even if it is used to refine the body and spirit, it has great effect. It's true that it's from the Tianyuan continent. Its foundation is too far away. A sword technique that you can use is so profound that it even contains suspected patterns of treasure. Bai Li Che's heart sighed, and there was a little jealousy in her eyes. This kind of inside information, this kind of swordsmanship is deceiving. Bai Lish also wanted to choose that mysterious businessman, but he was not looked at. The ice phoenix calls out to the sky. In a moment, the whole tomb of the great saint is frozen in snow, especially the furious great saint corpse. Its body is frozen, even the 2 chains melting a trace of treasure are frozen. Qin Sheng! Zhao Lin shouted. Qin Sheng understood and ignited 30 drops of Holy Land power in his body. He silently recited the 9 dead magic spell in his hand. He turned into a mirage, burst out and passed the frozen corpse. Chasm. However, at this time, the body spirit of the frozen Holy Land actually split, and the terrible power and rotten breath suddenly covered Qin Sheng. No. Qin Sheng's face changed dramatically. Unexpectedly, at this time, the corpse spirit of the great Holy Land was unsealed. The power of the great saint could directly split Qin Sheng's 6 holy bodies. Blood, flesh and blood. The corpse of the great Holy Land muttered to himself with a loud voice, which made Qin Sheng's pores stand up. One of his arms grabbed Qin Sheng. The hand of the great sage, like the hand of heaven, has its own terrifying field, which belongs to the power left by the holy field of the great sage. Although there is no 1 in 10, it is not acceptable for Qin Sheng, who has 6 holy fields. The power of the Holy Land. At the time of life and death, Qin Sheng clenched his teeth, and even 30 drops of Holy Land power were fused together. Boom! Qin Sheng's body suddenly cracked, and the 6 holy bodies couldn't bear the power of 30 drops of Holy Land. In this moment, Qin Sheng's breath soared beyond the small Holy Land and touched the edge of the big Holy Land. Chop, chop. Qin Sheng's body can't bear it, and his face is twisted. But if he doesn't fight it this time, he will die today. The stone sword is shining all over the world. It rises like a big sun in an instant. It makes people can't open their eyes. The imperial sword breath is detached, which makes the corpse spirit of the great Holy Land hesitate for a moment. Pooh! The sword light flashed by, and a great saint's hand was cut off. People were stunned. Zhao Lin, a blonde and blue-eyed woman, covered her mouth. Her big eyes were full of shock. Bai Lichui's eyes were so frightened that she was about to pop out. Her eyebrows were full of disbelief. The black blood of the corpse spirit is like the heavy rain, with extremely terrible corrosion ability, which makes the spirit lines all corroded clean. Ouch! The corpse of that great Holy Land screamed with pain. It fought 10,000 years ago and slept for countless years. It may have countless achievements in its life. In addition, he succeeded in cultivating the legendary 3 heads and 6 arms that only exist in the gods and demons. In that year's war, it was beheaded with 2 heads and 3 arms. Unexpectedly, after 10,000 years, it was beheaded with 1 arm by a little guy from Qin Sheng. Shua. Qin Sheng did not love to fight, and then the power on the edge of the loud, a move into the main tomb of the great saint. Darkness, stillness, and a great sarcophagus. This is the main chamber? Qin Sheng felt so painful that he did not dare to continue to burn the power of the Holy Land. The power of Holy Land has burned 10 drops. Now there are only 20 drops left. His holy body has been severely damaged. On the surface, he looks bruised, and his 7 holes are bleeding. In fact, his 5 viscera are directly cracked. Cough, it's really hurt. Qin Sheng is crazy about the 9 death magic, but he is too weak to reverse even the 9 death magic. Qin Sheng has 6 holy bodies and 9 death skills. If he changes to other holy regions, even a real little saint will die. The corpse poison of the great sage is really powerful. Qin Sheng's face was pale and obviously poisoned. This is the corpse poison of the great saint level. As long as it is tainted with a thread, let alone the martial arts in the Holy Land, even the small powerful one will turn into a pool of blood. There is no doubt about it. Activate the array first, or all the people outside will die. The main tomb is very big. He forced his eyes to shine, but he didn't find the eye of the array. What is it? Qin Sheng suddenly saw a dried willow tree. The willow tree had a strong vitality. He didn't expect to die. He didn't know whether it was the poison of the corpse in the great holy land or the end of its life. No matter what kind of willow tree, look for the eye first. Qin Sheng didn't notice that a drop of his blood fell on the withered tree that looked like a willow tree. Suddenly a blood light burst on Qin Sheng, which was very fast. What? Qin Sheng was shocked. He tried to avoid it, but found that he couldn't. Poop, blood light disappears. Qin Sheng checks his body and finds that there is no injury. There is not even a trace of injury where blood light disappears. Big formation is finally found. Qin Sheng suddenly finds the eye of the array. He shoots out the soul power to run the array. Boom. The terrible power comes, and the array is activated. Two chains with melted patterns automatically pull the great Holy Spirit to the sarcophagus. No. The great saint-level corpse spirit roars, and it is unwilling to be suppressed. The remaining two hands are crazily holding on to some small saints on the back. Zhao Lin is also caught by the terrible black air and pulled into the sarcophagus. Bai Lichui's face was pale, and he was still frightened. Fortunately, the great Holy Spirit didn't select him, or he would die. Seeds of the Thousand Star Tree. Bakul remembered that his purpose of coming here turned into a mirage, and he went directly into the main tomb. The divine sense shrouded here for a moment, and he wanted to find the Thousand Star Tree, but he found nothing. Qin Sheng, hand in the seeds of the Thousand Star Tree. Hundredly Che suddenly drinks a sound, the killing intention is awe-inspiring. There are not many warriors alive in the whole tomb. One by one, shivering at Bai Lichui in the rage. As for the information about the great saint tomb, Bai Lichui spent a lot of energy and cost to get it, just for the legendary seeds of the Thousand Star Tree. How precious is the Thousand Star Tree? Even the four god beast family, only the green dragon family owns one. But they don't sell the seeds of the Thousand Star Tree. Moreover, the Thousand Star Tree only blooms and bears fruit, leaving no seeds at all. In other words, a Thousand Star Tree has only one seed. It's such a treasure. How can the Qinglong people sell it? I don't need to think about it. At such a high cost, Bai Che finally found out that he could not get anything out of it. How could he accept this? Cough. Qin Sheng half lies on a sarcophagus, his face is not very good looking, pale as a piece of white paper, all over the body is sweating, and he has a weak look at Baelish. I've made a soul pact. It's impossible to break it. Qin Sheng retorted weakly, the seeds of the Thousand Star Tree may be in the sarcophagus of the corpse. You can find them. Look. Bai Lichui's eyes are full of anger. Now the sarcophagus has been closed by the big formation, and several saints, including Zhao Lin from the Tianyuan continent, have been pulled to the back. In order to suspect the seeds of the Thousand Star Tree, forcibly reopen the sarcophagus? How can 100 Li Che do such a stupid thing? Baelish's eyes are bright and cloudy. Now Zhao Lin is dead and Qin Sheng is seriously injured. The rest, Xiao Zhan and Shangguan Dufei, are just some cats and dogs that don't play a big role in Baelish's eyes. They can't be seen in front of him. Take your life to find it? 100 Li Che kill, meaning awe-inspiring. He had endured Qin Sheng for a long time. He also knew that Qin Sheng was the son of the saint daughter of Qin Zhongtian and the four divine beast family. If he didn't care about that saint daughter, Bai Lichui would have killed him. Now that Zhao Lin is dead, I will not be stopped anymore, and I will kill all the people here, and then release the great saint-level corpse spirit. In between the lightning and flint, Bai Lichui came up with a seamless plan. Qin Sheng sneers, but he doesn't see through the murderous intention under Bai Lichui's eyes. Want to do it? Qin Sheng's face was indifferent, and there was no timidity on his face. He sneered, "Do you have enough qualifications to think about something and move me? Don't be careless. If you kill me, I will kill you." Bai Lichuei hears the words, but he is really in deep thought. He recalls the terrible scene just now. Qin Sheng broke out his terrible power when he was alive or dead. He doesn't know whether it belongs to him or not, but he killed the saint with one sword. He can't do such a thing. Boom. At this time, the sarcophagus erupted with terrible power, and even cracked with a click. The sarcophagus was divided into 4 parts, and a shadow came out of the ruins. She was injured, and there was a ferocious wound in her chest. At a glance, Zhao Lin knew that she had no chance today. Qin Sheng, today's grudges will be reported later. Baelish left a cruel words, and then left the tomb of the great sage. Bang! Zhao Lin didn't hold on for a long time, but she fell to the ground. The blood came out of the ferocious wound like spring water. She's poisoned. Help me up. Qin Sheng frowned and asked for help. In fact, Shangguan Dufei was seriously hurt, but it was a miracle that he and Shangguan Shiyu could live. With the support of Shangguan Dufei, Qin Shengkai was able to stand up in front of him. When he looked closer, he found that the blonde and blue-eyed woman full of foreign customs was seriously injured. Dozens of bones have been broken all over the body, which also counts. The broken bones, even the internal organs, are actually minor injuries for the Peerless Strong in the Little Holy Land. They can be cured after a few days' rest. However, it is not so easy to solve the corpse poison of the great sage-level corpse king. Qin Sheng has cultivated 6 holy bodies and 9 death skills that only in 9 days and 10 places can he carry to the present. Although Zhao Lin once achieved the great holy land, she was only once. Now she can't bear the poison of the great Holy Spirit. Besides, after she was involved in the sarcophagus by the great Holy Spirit, she didn't know what taboo skills she used to kill the great Holy Land Spirit. Now the backfire is also very terrible. A dead horse should be a live horse doctor. I will help her detoxify. You are waiting outside. Qin Sheng gave a sacrifice to a warship. This search ship is very small, and its body is only 7 or 8 meters. It has 3 floors in total. It makes a 3-room and 1 hall, but its defense is very strong. It's a gift from his father, Qin Zhongtian. It's indestructible. It's said that it can withstand a great saint's continuous attack for a day and a night. This is also one of his cards, which is specially used for running. Qin Sheng put the unconscious Zhao Lin on the bed. After a short period of self-healing, the great saint-level poison in his body was better. He focused on Zhao Lin's delicate body again, and could not help but take a breath of cool air. First, I feel that Zhao Lin is so badly hurt. She is worthy of being from the Tianyuan continent. She not only killed a great saint-level corpse, but also survived to the present. Second, the figure of this exotic woman is so good. The injury is so embarrassing, just in front of him. Qin Sheng is not good at it. I can't care so much. It's important to save people. As soon as Qin Sheng clenched his teeth and reached for help, Zhao Lin opened her eyes and locked Qin Sheng with murderous eyes. Even Qin Sheng felt that his knees could not stand it. Qin Sheng is the only one who has a strong sense of killing. If you change someone else, even a real saint can't bear it. Don't get me wrong, I can detoxify you. Qin Sheng looked seriously and said, the corpse poison has penetrated into your bone marrow. If you don't detoxify it, it will be hard for the doctor to save your life. Zhao Lin's willow eyebrows wrinkled. She had some doubts on her pretty face, but she also read the information about Qin Sheng and knew that he was a very powerful alchemy genius. But no matter how talented he is, he can't be so close to his secret place. Good. Finally, Zhao Lin agreed. She said in a deep voice, "If you cheat me, even if you are the son of that man, I will kill you." Qin Sheng wants to refute. He is also grumpy. How can he seem to ask for help? However, as soon as the voice fell, Qin Sheng stared at Zhao Lin's delicate body. His body was stiff and petrified completely. "Look, I'll dig your eyes down," Zhao Lin said in a deep voice, "quickly detoxify me." The pain and happiness of expelling the corpse poison of the great saint-level corpse spirit go hand in hand. Because Qin Sheng himself is poisoned, the detoxification is very long. Zhao Lin has doubts for a long time. Is this guy deliberately delaying the time? If Qin Sheng knew Zhao Lin's inner thoughts, he would definitely cry out for wrong. After a whole night, Qin Sheng slowly collected his contributions and said, "You should be able to digest all the dead poisons when you go back to rest for a while." After that, Qin Sheng fell into a deep sleep. It's better than half. Zhao Lin turns her hand and takes out a brand new change of clothes from Neji. Then she looks at Qin Sheng, who is falling into a deep sleep. This guy deserves to be Qin Zhongtian's son. The corpse poison of the corpse spirit in the great holy land. In order to survive, Zhao Lin also exerts multiple taboo skills. If it wasn't for Qin Sheng, she would even be abandoned. But at the thought of her body being carefully observed by Qin Sheng for a night, she could not swallow this breath. Zhao Lin is from the Tianyuan continent, and in the upper world is never lack of pursuers, even the king-level pursuers. If it was not for merit, it would not have come to this deserted place. Will he be chosen, and then go to Tianyuan, and rise like a star from then on? When Zhao Lin thought about it, she thought about it so much. Maybe she realized her gaffe and scolded herself. "What are you thinking about, Zhao Lin? What's the matter with you if he can be chosen?" Zhao Lin reminds me again and again, and finally calms down. In Tuqing, Qin Sheng suddenly fell asleep for 3 days and nights. If there was not a long breath and a stronger and stronger breath, Zhao Lin's master was wondering if Qin Sheng was dead. Here is it? When Qin Sheng woke up, he stretched out and checked himself. He found that his body was not only detoxified, but also more and more violent. 7 holy regions? Qin Sheng was a little confused. He was worthy of the 9 dead magic skill. It was just to turn the decadent into the magic. He was poisoned by the great saint-level corpse. After sleeping, he gradually refined it. Good boy. At this time an old voice came, an old man and a gorgeous woman came slowly. The gorgeous woman is Zhao Lin with beautiful body, blonde hair and blue eyes. Qin Sheng, the old man, has never seen her. But from the breath released from her body, she is a holy land. Qin Sheng felt that the old man's breath was stronger than his father's, and stronger than the general saint. I've met the old master. Qin Sheng Qin's first line of ceremony. Not bad, not bad. Zhao Lin's master said with a smile, the talent is good, especially in alchemy. It seems that the spirit is not bad. All around genius. Zhao Lin is a little surprised. Her master is a terrible king in the Tianyuan continent. He has many Taoli, even among his disciples, there has been a saint emperor. One of them has broken through the saint emperor. Zhao Lin's master would not have praised him so much if he had not been a real one. Qin Zhongtian, Qin Sheng's father, was the last to be praised. What I learned is only fur. In martial arts, I have a poor foundation in fighting. Qin Sheng is also very modest response. Zhao Lin's master said with a smile, you are modest. What do you call me, elder? Qin Sheng asked respectfully. In front of him, the old man is introverted. He can't see through Qin Sheng's strength at all. However, it gives him a sense that it's much more terrible than the general saint. But under the power of the rule of heaven in the whole forbidden area of the north, the most powerful people here are the great saints. Once they exceed the scope of the great saints, they will be punished by the law of heaven. My name is Sure, and my name is Lei. You can call me Senior for sure. Sure Lei didn't mind. He introduced himself. Qin Sheng nodded and leaned back again, saying, I've seen Senior 4 stones. You have your talent to cultivate your body, blood, spirit, and alchemy. Even in the Tianyuan continent, these talents can be regarded as the most proud of heaven. The smile of Senior 4 Stone gradually disappeared and became serious. He said, Don't be complacent, Tianyuan continent is far beyond your imagination. Smell words. Qin Sheng's face is also positive. Color up, modestly seek advice. Please let me know. Master Sure waved his hand and said with a smile, The laws of heaven in the forbidden area in the north of you are cruel, and it is also an abandoned place. For thousands of years, many inheritance has been broken, and the cultivation skills are also broken. Looking at the whole forbidden area in the north, we can see the inheritance of the so-called four-beast family. In fact, this is not the first time Qin Sheng has heard about the legend of the forbidden area in the north, but the idea of abandoned land sounds really uncomfortable. What is abandonment? It's abandonment. It's regarded as a burden. I dare to ask you, Master Sure, that Tianyuan mainland has called our north forbidden area the abandoned land. Since we have abandoned it for tens of thousands of years, why are more and more powerful forces of Tianyuan mainland willing to come to our own cultivation? Qin Sheng asked. For Stone Elder Generation a Jing, deeply looked Qin Sheng one eye, way, abandonment reason is very complex, but comes as because the time is ripe, some things will return eventually. With your current strength, it can't be revealed to you. Master Sure shook his head, and was unwilling to continue to talk about this topic. Say back to your practice. I know you have a heavenly skill. It's weird. It's magic. It should be a rare magic skill. Four Stone Senior suddenly said. Qin Sheng was trembling. He didn't think that Senior Sure could see through his accomplishments directly. It was obvious that he was talking about the 9 death magic. Master Sure, what is Shentong? Qin Sheng asked doubtfully. Master Sure smiled and threw a jade slip to him. He said with a smile, There are notes in it. Look back and look slowly. The divine power is the strong one in the Holy Land. It can be divided into spiritual skill and treasure skill. It's similar to your spiritual level skill and martial arts. However, the martial arts you practice is incomplete spirituality, which is far less powerful than the lowest spirituality. As for Baoshu, it is even more impossible to compare with it. Baoshu is generally a great saint, and even a saint king is qualified to practice it. And above the art of treasure, that's the magic. Elder Sure explained a lot at a time. Zhao Lin, standing on the side, was very surprised. Others didn't know. She was the most clear. Her teacher was a holy king. She often preached to her disciples a few times. Today, she preached to this abandoned place kid for 6 hours. There is no distinction between martial arts practitioners, physical practitioners, and sword practitioners in the Tianyuan continent. We are all practitioners of spirituality, treasure skills, and even divinity. The whole way of cultivation is called cultivator. The 4 Stone Elder generation does not hesitate to introduce a way, sometimes drinks Qin Sheng's good wine. Qin Sheng's fine wine was all skimmed over from the hand of the robber before. The robber did everything to kill people and steal goods, but he didn't expect that all the spoils were cheap. This is the legendary Faishianmio wine? Elder Sure is bored and has a long aftertaste. This kind of wine has been lost in the Tianyuan continent for a long time. Unexpectedly, it has been handed down in the forbidden area in the north. Master, I have a few bottles here, all of which are reserved for people who know how to taste wine. Qin Sheng gave 9 bottles of Faishianmio wine directly to Master Sishi. Qin Sheng really didn't care about the wine. Although the Fixianmio wine was really expensive, it was worth 100,000 thunder and tiger gold. What's the concept? In other words, Qin Sheng sent out 23 million lei hujin in one breath. 20 or 30 million lei hujin is equivalent to the life wealth of a little sage. Even some of the great saints are not so bold. It's good to have a small place in a small place. A lot of lost things, food and drink are still handed down. Senior 4 Stone can't help sighing. He accepted the good wine without leaving any trace, patted Qin Sheng on the shoulder and said, "There is no reply for you, elder. I can give you a spiritual skill, but according to the regulations, you can only reach a small holy land. In the Tianyuan continent, even the lowest level of spirituality is recorded. Even if Shirley is a holy king in the Tianyuan continent, he can't be given at will." "Well, thank you first," Qin Sheng said with a smile. "If we let the 4 inheriting places and even the 4 beast families know, we will definitely curse the street. A few bottles of wine will exchange for a spirit skill." "That spirit skill. It's more powerful than the spirit level skill." Qin Sheng suddenly asked, "I don't know if you've heard of Tianyang finger." "Tianyang means?" When Master Shishir heard about it, he immediately woke up and looked at Qin Sheng deeply. He said oddly, "That's a treasure skill. It's precious. Where have you heard about it? Or do you have this treasure?" "No, no." Qin Sheng's heart was stormy, but his face was still silent. He said with a smile, "I killed a dream thief in Yunming days. In his memory, there was this Tianyang finger, which was said to be in the deepest part of the forbidden area in the north. Tianyang finger is his father's treasure skill." Qin Sheng didn't he know that it was a treasure skill, that 2 loud fingers destroyed a small saint? It's almost bad. Qin Sheng was still frightened. Master Shishir has no doubt. Many people know that Qin Sheng killed a dream thief. "Well, you've done a great job," said Master Sishi in a deep voice. "I'll be here today." Master Sishi turned his hand and threw Qin Sheng an agi. There was a reward for him. 1,000 star pills should be enough for Qin Sheng to practice in a small holy land. After saying goodbye to Master Shishir, Qin Sheng smashed the transmission talisman, and after a while, he has returned to the temple of Heilong Mountain. "You are Qin Sheng. Please follow me. The deputy hall leader will call you." A mighty voice came. It was a little saint, his face cold. Shaoxing is a red armor with a big fire character on his chest. He is armed with a battle axe and is surrounded by terrible pressure. The general fighters in Holy Land can't bear it. "Master of the Fire Hall?" Qin Sheng was shocked for a while, but he was summoned just after he returned to Heilong Mountain Temple. He took a look at Shang Guanshiyu and said, "Go to the War Dragon Hall and hand in the task." "I will go with you." Shang Guanshiyu nodded and disappeared into Qin Sheng's sight. "Don't struggle." The little sage with a battle axe and red armor grabbed Qin Sheng's shoulder in one hand, just like a pair of iron tongs. Of course, he didn't hurt Qin Sheng. His holy land covered Qin Sheng, flying directly in the sky, was very fast and frightening. After 10 breaths, he landed in a flaming mountain. Flaming Mountain is a Jedi of Heilong Mountain Temple. The lava in the center of the earth is extremely hot. If it is accidentally stained, even the true disciples who have reached the 5-fold Holy Land will be burned to ashes. At the top of Hua Mountain, a huge palace has been built, which is the core of Hua Temple. Qin Sheng went directly into the palace with the little saint in red armor. He found that the Yuan power here was thousands of times strong. If he practiced here, he would get twice the result with half the effort. Soon, Qin Sheng came to a palace where there were huge rocks, and even the lava in the center of the earth was flowing, which was extremely hot. However, with Qin Sheng's current accomplishments, he would not feel uncomfortable at all. Shua. Qin Sheng just stepped into the palace. He was covered by a hot eye. A strong spirit wave swept by. He is Qin Sheng? The strength of the 6 holy regions is fairly good. It's also a medium level among the real disciples of the Fire Hall. Ha ha, you may not know that Qin Sheng has made a great deal of trouble in the ancient battlefield. I just closed. I don't know. Elder Martial Brother, please tell me. Many powerful people in the Fire Hall murmured and discussed when they saw Qin Sheng. Of course, they only communicated with each other, because there was an extremely powerful person in the hall, they did not dare to talk. Qin Sheng frowned and felt the hot eyes, especially the strong ones in the small Holy Land. Even those with the lowest strength were the strong ones in the Holy Land. In the Fire Hall, the 5 holy regions can become true disciples. The true disciples who have become the 8 or 9 holy regions are absolutely top-notch. At the top of the main hall, there are 3 thrones, all wrapped by the magma of the earth's core and flowing with the most complicated spiritual patterns. You can see that they are not ordinary things. Of the 3 thrones, 2 are empty, and the rest is a gorgeous woman sitting there. The woman is a red robe with a phoenix crown on her head. Her eyes are sharp. She looks at many powerful people in the temple like a phoenix. Vice Hall Lord, Qin Sheng, has brought it. The little saint in red armor and axe knelt down on one knee and saluted respectfully. Morong Yen nodded indifferently, and she cast her eyes on Qin Sheng, who felt unprecedented pressure. That Morong Yen Qin Sheng didn't never see it. When he recruited Qin Sheng as a registered disciple of the Fire Hall, he was still the peak of the small Holy Land. Now he has reached the Great Holy Land. At the beginning, Morong Smoke stepped into the Great Holy Land with 1 foot. Its strength is so terrible. Otherwise, it could not be the deputy temple leader of the Fire Hall. Now both feet have stepped into the Great Holy Land, and their strength has squeezed the heroes. In her fierce eyes, including the 4 metropolises, all the strong men who have reached the little saint are low and arrogant. Qin Sheng met Morong Yan's fierce eyes, the holy body was shining, and 6 holy regions were revealed. Dare Qin Sheng. When you see the Vice Hall leader, don't you kneel down quickly to salute? For Da Du Tong, one of them is wearing purple-red battle armor, and there is a sign of waning moon in his eyebrow. He exclaimed in a cold voice. He was so high that he didn't even pay attention to Qin Sheng, the warrior of the 6 holy regions. People outside are saying that Qin Sheng is terrible, especially with a terrible talent for alchemy. Even the little holy elixir with the rotten breath can be purified, which is a great talent. The alchemists are very popular in the Heilong Mountain Temple, and they are so young. The Heilong Mountain Temple is absolutely the focus of training. In addition, the cultivation talent is also very strong. How long does it take to enter the Heilong Mountain Temple, and how long does it last for 1 year? It even reaches 6 holy regions from semi-holy land. Even Li Yuanjia can't match him at such a terrible speed. Li Yuanjia faintly felt that Qin Sheng was a threat. In time, he might be able to threaten his position. That's why he scolded Qin Sheng in front of the public and let him kneel down in Morong Smoke. Rub the new man's spirit, Li Yuanjia said with a sneer. Hearing this, Qin Sheng glanced up at Li Yuanjia and pulled a joking arc from the corner of his mouth. Maybe the warrior in other holy land would be stunned by a little saint and a big saint. Then when his legs were soft, he would kneel down. However, Qin Sheng has experienced the ancient battlefield. What scene has not seen? Even the hand of the great sage has been cut off. How can he be frightened by Li Yuanjia's careful thought? It's just ridiculous. I, Qin Sheng, only kneel to my parents and teachers. The voice of indifference sounded in the temple, not very loud, but sonorous and powerful, containing the power of the terrible spirit. Sure enough, the most acute Morong Smoke eyes flashed a touch of amazing color again. She is a great saint. How sharp is the power of spirit. In a moment, she realized Qin Sheng's spirit realm, which is a day higher than Li Yuanjia's spirit realm. What a genius! Morong Smoke couldn't help sighing. Qin Sheng, you are breaking the rules below. Li Yuanjia is furious, and the terrible little holy breath rolls around the whole audience. Some true disciples of Jiucheng Holy Land flash their shocking eyes and dodge one after another. Otherwise, it's hard to resist this breath. No need. Morong Yen waved his hand and said in a deep voice, after Qin Sheng, he was on the same status with me as the second vice hall master. As soon as the voice came out, the whole fire hall was silent. One by one, they were stunned and looked at Morong Smoke. There are 2 deputy hall masters in total. One of them has died in the war. No one has taken on the responsibility of the deputy hall master since he was vacant. Unexpectedly, Qin Sheng has taken on the responsibility today. Think twice about Morong's deputy hall leader. How can he lead our fire hall? Li Yuanjia breathed a few breaths first, and then there was a touch of reluctance and anger on his handsome face. The Lord of the Fire Hall has been closed for a long time. It's said that he was healing. In a war 100 years ago, the Lord of the Fire Hall suffered a lot. If he doesn't close for healing, he won't live long. That is to say, the Lord of the Temple of Fire did not care about the world for 100 years. Under the Temple Master, there are also 2 deputy Temple Masters. Morong Yen has just been promoted for 100 years, and the other one died in war 10 years ago. Among them, Li Yuanjia has the best talent and the youngest age. He has been coveting the position of the deputy Temple Master, waiting for an opportunity. However, Li Yuanjia did not expect that he always regarded the position of the Vice Hall Master as a bag, and suddenly killed a Qin Sheng. The martial artists of the 6 holy regions will be the deputy Temple Master of the Fire Hall? Li Yuanjia sneers in his heart. He's not afraid to laugh at the dead. Smell words, Morong Smoke, that unique face shows a touch of cold. She is less than 200 years old. For a great sage, she is really very young. Her face is no different from that of a 20-year-old woman, even her temperament is more noble. As soon as Morong Smoke was cold, the whole temple had been lowered by dozens of degrees, especially the molten rock in the center of the earth flowing in the fire hall had suddenly solidified. Li Yuanjia's body is even more stiff, and his strength and breath are all suppressed. With only one look, he suddenly fell into the ice cellar. Even if Li Yuanjia has reached the peak of Shaoxing, the gap between them is as huge as heaven and earth, which is not a plane at all. Do you mean that Qin Sheng is a man of guilt? Morong Smoke, voice cold, light asked. Every word Morong Yen said was like a sharp knife, which stabbed Li Yuanjia in the heart. However, Li Yuanjia still resisted. Yes, this talent is really excellent, but the character and style of conduct do not agree. Li Yuanjia said firmly, as far as I know, he caused a lot of trouble in the ancient battlefield, and killed the true disciples of Qingyang sect. Even the missing disciples of the royal family have a great relationship with him. As soon as the voice fell, the whole fire hall was shocked. Qingyang sect is also a huge thing for Heilong Mountain Temple. It's not the same as before. Qingyang sect's strength far exceeds that of the whole Heilong Mountain Temple. As for the Fire Temple, it's only one of the 4 halls of Heilong Mountain Temple. Its strength is 1/4 of that of Heilong Mountain Temple. It's really a man of sin to get into such a huge thing. Besides, the king's family of the 10 families seems to have a grudge against it. If this is the case, how can the people present at the fire hall think of the disaster that will destroy the sky and destroy the earth? That's all? Morong Smoke, listen, the cool face of a little more startled, but only that. The next sentence is true. Li Yuanjia said in a deep voice, so, please think twice about the Vice Hall Master. Although the person who wears sins has merit, it may cause the anger of Qin sect and even the royal family to let him be the Vice Hall Master at this time. Morong Smoke suddenly stood up, her long skirt reflected her tall and straight body, her crow was singing, her eyes were angry, the whole flame mountain was boiling in an instant, the lava in the center of the earth seemed to be unable to suppress any longer, and there would be a world-destroying eruption anytime and anywhere. What do you mean, Li Yuanjia? Morong Yan was furious. Do you think our fire hall and Heilong Mountain Temple will be afraid of Qin sect? The rage of the great sage destroys the heaven and the earth, and the terrible power that erupts can make Li Yuanjia not hold on any longer, and directly plop on the ground. Li Yuanjia is lying on the ground, unable to understand, because his words are right. Qin Sheng did make a lot of noise in the ancient battlefield. He not only offended the soaring Qingyang clan, but also one of the 10 clans. Isn't that to make enemies for the temple of Heilong Mountain? Why is it wrong to say that Qin Sheng is a man of misdemeanor? Remember, our Heilong Mountain Temple is different from other heritage sites. We have our own roots, but they are temporarily broken. Morong Yanli said, as long as the roots are connected again, what are the Qingyang clans, what are the 10 clans, and even the 4 beast clans? Knowing the temple of Heilong Mountain, we know that it is different from other 3 heritage sites. Qin Sheng. Morong asked in a heavy voice, is Li Yuanjia's words true? Qin Sheng frowned and said with a smile, I don't make trouble or lose the face of the Hall of Fire. I can't show weakness when others bully me, but I didn't expect that Qin sect and the royal family were just like that. I couldn't help fighting at all. When Li Yuanjia heard this, he was a bit confused and looked up at Qin Sheng. Unexpectedly, Qin Sheng was so arrogant. However, Li Dutong said it incompletely. Qin Sheng squinted and looked at Li Yuanjia deeply. He smiled and said, I also offended the White Tiger's disciples. Just after the words fell, the fire hall was bombed again. Unexpectedly, Qin Sheng dared to provoke the White Tiger family. That's the terrible existence of the 4 gods and beasts family. Is it? Morong Smoke has some accidents. Lu Mei frowns. It seems that Qin Sheng really can make trouble. Tell me more. Good. Qin Sheng didn't cover up, because there were many witnesses in Tuqing and Dashing Tomb that day. It was difficult for him to cover up. After a quarter of an hour, Qin Sheng will tell the story in detail, and people are shocked by Qin Sheng's eyes. Even Li Yuanjia had a third eye on Qin Sheng, and was very lucky to be able to leave in the hands of a great holy corpse. That's it. Qin Sheng will be the deputy hall leader. Morong Yan ponders for a moment, but continues to insist. Li Yuanjia roared, I am not satisfied. Unless this can suppress me. It's not qualified to be a warrior in the 6 holy regions. Now let him be the deputy temple leader? Li Yuanjia is a little mad. Don't you dare to lose face when it's spread out? Enough qualification, I has the final say. Morong Smoke frowns, the phoenix crown shines, and the eyebrows are already slightly unhappy. Good. Qin Sheng was very surprised, but Morong Yan didn't let himself be the deputy hall leader because he got involved with the White Tiger family. Even other great saints don't have such courage, as you wish. Qin Sheng held a stone sword in his hand. His eyebrows split and he flew a gray sword. The lightning and firestone hit Li Yuanjia. Li Yuanjia's body is stiff and suddenly out of control. Of course, it's only a blink of an eye. But for the strong at the level of Holy Land, the blink of an eye has been very long. You lost. Put a stone sword on Li Yuanjia's throat. Inside the fire hall, there is a dead silence. Shua. Countless hot eyes stare at Qin Sheng, and the eyes burst with shock and disbelief. How could it be? Too fast for me to capture it? A real disciple of the eightfold Holy Land murmured in fear. His face was full of consternation, especially Qin Sheng's stone sword, which looked plain and strange, gave him a very dangerous feeling. Morong Yan's eyes are sharp, her eyes are suddenly narrowed into 2 points, and there is a shock between her bright and clean eyebrows. She is a new great saint. What seen and pride has never seen? However, just under the eyes of the phoenix, this scene still left her deeply shocked. The grey sword spirit should be the attack of spirit. Morong Smoke said in his heart that the eyes were more shocked. Li Yuanjia was the strong man at the top of Shaosheng. Qin Sheng's spirit attack made Li Yuanjia fall into a trance. Although it was Qin Sheng's surprise attack, Li Yuanjia was a little bit unprepared, but a martial artist of the 6 holy regions could do such a shocking thing. The stone sword in his hand? Then Morong Yan's eyes fell on the stone sword in Qin Sheng's hands, with mottled traces. Although the rest of the holy stripe had peeled off half of it, he could still feel that it used to be a big weapon. The speed of lightning, the hardness of the body like a rock, and the desperate spirit attack. And the power of an unknown number of holy regions. Morong Smoke's unique face was shocked a little more. Even she felt faintly that Qin Sheng would catch up with himself in a short time. I lost? Li Yuanjia was stunned at first. His handsome face was full of disbelief and gradually twisted. However, the tearing pain of the spirit from his head and the pressure of the sword on his neck reminded him. It's true that Li Yuanjia was defeated. And still lose so simply, even a little room for resistance. I don't agree, you sneak attack. Li Yuanjia had countless thoughts in his mind, and a large part of them were just a scene he recalled. He thought hard about how he was defeated. This sun's spirit attack is very fierce, but it's far from the point where I can't fight it. Li Yuanjia's heart roared angrily in the wind and shouted, if you give time to me to prepare for the attack, how would you treat me? When Qin Sheng heard this, he suddenly looked down upon it with a sneer and said, the enemy on the battlefield will give you time to prepare? The battlefield is changeable, so to speak, there is nothing to do with it. All kinds of means of sneaking attack will be used. Qin Sheng's means are relatively clean. This can only say that Li Yuanjia can't afford to lose. Boom. However, Li Yuanjia didn't think so. He didn't hesitate to light up 50 drops of holy power in his body. That's the power of Holy Land. Wang Yang, from the 10 families, has stepped into the small Holy Land with 1 foot, but only melted 5 drops of Holy Land. Li Yuanjia is worthy of being a strong man of Dutong level. He even smelt 50 drops of Holy Land power. Such a powerful Holy Land power is rare even in a small Holy Land. Li Yuanjia's anger was burning, and the terrible Yuan force leaped like the god flame. The pressure was filled out, and the whole fire hall was rolled up. Finally, it became a shock wave that could be seen by the naked eye. Even the lava in the center of the earth would be cut off. The sparks would start a prairie fire, and the void would break. A sharp-toothed boy. At this time, Li Yuanjia's handsome face has long disappeared, replaced by craziness and distortion, especially between the eyebrows, with a terrible ferocity. In the face of absolute strength, what fancy means is also illusory. When Li Yuanjia turned his hand, a black lightning burst out. It was a war spear. It was full of black, and its surface was painted with golden holy stripe, which was too complicated to be seen by ordinary little saints. The black spear stands in the air, even though it is far away, there are still spectators who feel its terrible killing atmosphere. This is definitely a big weapon to kill countless enemies, with the frightening atmosphere of ancient battlefield. God, what level of artifact is it? How can I feel a dragon chi? Well, I can also feel that it's a dragon spear. It's only broken. It was dug out in the cave of the temple of Heilong Mountain. It's so terrifying. I didn't expect that Li Dutong had the honor to go into the temple to search for treasure in the cave. Among the hot eyes of countless Taoist priests, there are so many real disciples who have ever lived in the world who can't help sighing that the hot eyes are getting fiercer and fiercer, and the face is both astonishment and envy. The temple cave, which represents the highest honor, has no absolute talent and strength, and it is absolutely impossible to have the qualification to enter. Moreover, over the years, the resources of the Heilong Mountain Temple are more and more exhausted, and the opportunity to open the temple cave is less and less. Li Yuanjia can be selected to search for treasure in the temple cave, which naturally is the source of his pride. Qin Sheng looked up. His clean face was not as odd and frightened as those onlookers, but there was a strong sense of war in his eyes. There were few people who could fight with him in the Holy Land. Even those so-called heavenly conceits from the four beasts can't stabilize him. The strong man of small Holy Land is a challenge to Qin Sheng. He likes to challenge. At the same time, the stone sword in Qin Sheng's hand was even hot, which sent him a message that the dragon spear is a great tonic. Stone sword is silent all the time. I didn't expect that the dragon gun in Li Yuanjia's hand would cause waves. Phew. Qin Sheng lights up the power of Holy Land in his body, which is his strongest state. His eyebrows and heart are split, and he bursts out a gray spirit attack. But this time Li Yuanjia has been prepared for a long time. His eyes are shining a lot, and a translucent ancient clock wraps it to resist the spirit attack. Cut. Qin Sheng didn't stop. The stone sword soared to the sky. A sword energy gathered and fell like the heaven sword. Li Yuanjia snorted coldly, and his body turned into thousands. Let alone the Holy Land, even the little Holy Land could not be distinguished. Eyes of fire. Qin Sheng's eyes were shining with golden light and flowing with complicated spiritual patterns. He was able to see through the illusions. The stone sword stabbed hundreds of swords like lightning. Bam bam. Li Yuanjia's shadow is pierced, his shoulder is pierced, and blood flows out. I was hurt? Li Yuanjia's eyes are shocked and her face is unbelievable. If Qin Sheng's spirit attack was suspected of sneaking attack before, he was injured in the just round of attack and left a lot of blood in front of the public. Qin Sheng, you are looking for the edge of death. After a very short period of consternation, Li Yuanjia's eyes burst into flames of anger. With a big wave of his hand, the dragon gun turned into a black dragon. His power was directly raised to a level and reached the edge of the great Holy Land. Poof hiss, black dragon opened the big mouth of the blood plate, swallowed Qin Sheng directly. It's over. Li is too strong. The dragon spear from the temple Dongtian is so tyrannical. Elder Martial Brother Li is like a dragon, while Qin Sheng is like an ant. Although he stabbed the dragon could trample it to death with 1 foot. Qin Sheng will stay in bed for a year and a half, which is the result of provocation. No one is optimistic about Qin Sheng, who is a rising star like the sun in the fire palace. They are not satisfied with Qin Sheng. It's just the Holy Land. How long does it take to enter the fire palace? Why is it above them? Who is not the proud lord who can be strong in this temple? Besides, the vice-temple leader of Morong Smoke asked Qin Sheng to be the second vice-temple leader in the Holy Land. He wanted to command them. Why is the Holy Land? Li Yuanjia not only represents himself, but also represents a group of old powerful people in the Hall of Fire. On the throne, Morong Yan's phoenix eyes stared at the conflict in the palace. She turned a blind eye and looked on coldly. Her face was cold and callous, and she had no intention to stop it. In the temple of Heilong Mountain, the strong are respected. If Qin Sheng can't even carry the wave of Li Yuanjia's attack, how far can he carry the dangerous fire hall? And Li Yuanjia can't even suppress Qin Sheng, so what's the right to clamor? So it's the best way to stand by and wait for the results. The black fog of the dragon's spear covered the figure of the two men. For a while, no one on the scene could tell who won or who lost. Ah! At this time a scream broke out in the fire hall. Li Yuanjia stumbled and rolled in the sight of the public. He coughed up blood continuously and was in a state of embarrassment. The black dragon has disappeared and turned into powder. The spirit grain is attached to Qin Sheng's stone sword. The mottled ancient sword suddenly glows with brilliant light. Even Morong Yen is shocked by the terrible pressure. However, soon the stone sword returned to the ordinary. People were stunned. Although they didn't want to believe it one by one, the facts were in front of them. Li Yuanjia, who they were optimistic about, was defeated and seemed to lose so simply. Good. Morong Yen smiled, that's the decision of the vice-temple leader. No one is against it, is it? Everyone faces each other. Where can anyone oppose it? Even Li Yuanjia is defeated. Didn't he come out at this time to make a fool of himself? Li Yuanjia is a living example of a hero who does not suffer from immediate loss. Qin Sheng, you are very good. Morong Yen could not help exclaiming, what do you want? As long as it is not too much, I can also meet it. Smell speech. Qin Sheng is silent for a while. Say, I want to enter 100 times practice room. 100 times practice room, in which the practice time will be 100 times slower. It's only the past year to stay in it for 100 years, and it's of great benefit to those who practice. It only costs a lot of resources, and the whole Tiangang pavilion only has 200 times training rooms. Even ordinary true disciples may not have the chance to use them. 100 times practice room, not only need to consume contribution value and lei hu jin, but also need to queue up for application. Yes. Morong Yen agreed very simply, saying, you are now the deputy hall master of the fire hall, and you are absolutely qualified to go to the practice room for 100 times, but I advise you not to stay in it for too long, and it is easy to forget the time and space, and become possessed by the fire. Thank you very much. Qin Sheng was very excited and arched his way. Morong Smoke nodded and said with a smile, now you and I are in the same position, just call me Morong Senior Sister. The strong of Heilong Mountain Temple is respected. With the same strength, there is nothing wrong with Qin Sheng calling Morong Yen the elder martial sister. Suddenly, Morong Yen threw a token to Qin Sheng and said, there is your jade token in the token. Take good care of it. This is the jade token of the deputy hall leader. Besides, I'll give you another 1,000,000 yuan of contribution value. As for what you want to change, just go to Zhanlong Hall to exchange it. When Qin Sheng heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked. His contribution of 1,000,000 yuan is astronomical for a warrior in Holy Land. Of course, for the existence of a vice hall master level, 1,000,000 contribution value is not much, but it is definitely not less. In the eyes of countless shocks, Qin Sheng left. Now that you have 1,000,000 contributions, you don't have to use them for nothing. Qin Sheng said with a smile, he didn't expect this return to the fire hall to be surprisingly smooth. He thought it would cause many obstacles. After all, Qin Sheng's going to the ancient battlefield caused a terrible shock. First, he offended the Qingyang clan, then the royal clan, one of the 10 families, and finally even the legitimate disciple of the White Tiger clan, one of the 4 sacred animal families in the legend. It's absolutely necessary for any of these forces to be arrested and punished if they change to other true disciples. But Qin Sheng was not only not punished by Morong Yen, but also promoted to a higher rank. That Morong cigarette is not a fool. Jiehui couldn't help laughing at this time. The talent and strength of adults are visible to the blind. Jiehui, as a little saint, you can still lick your mouth, he said with contempt. Jiehui glares at. Zhanlong Hall will arrive soon. The one who receives Qin Sheng is an acquaintance, Tingyang. Brother Qin Sheng, it's you. Tingyang is very enthusiastic. He has no dignity of a little sage. He has a very low attitude towards Qin Sheng. At the beginning, Tingyang was just a waste man. If it wasn't for Qin Sheng, how could he return to Shaoxing? Now he has become one of the top 10 deacons of the War Dragon Hall, responsible for some daily affairs of the War Dragon Hall. I heard about you in the ancient battlefield. Are you okay? Tingyang asked. Qin Sheng said with a smile, it seems that it has spread all over the temple of Heilong Mountain. Well, it said that the master of Palm sect was shocked. Tingyang said seriously. By the way, you don't know what happened when you came to the Dragon Hall today? I want to exchange some cultivation resources. Qin Sheng also did not hesitate, since there are acquaintances to do, said directly. I want to refine the treasures of the holy body. Disha is extremely cold. As soon as the voice fell, Tingyang suddenly had a hard look on it and said, is the earth extremely cold? That kind of treasure is so rare that I can't take the Lord alone. What is the extremely cold vitality of Disha? It's a kind of vitality produced in the deepest part of the forbidden area in the north. It's extremely cold. The general martial artists in Holy Land are not willing to touch it at all, unless those who have refined the holy body are strong. It's not a joke that the holy body is too weak and fragile to touch. It will freeze to powder. Qin Sheng, I know that you have cultivated the holy body. However, the cold energy of Disha is too expensive, and the cold air problem is definitely not acceptable to the ordinary holy body. If you are a little careless, you will be crushed to pieces. Tingyang advised, Zhanglong Hall has other energy for refining holy body. The effect may be worse than Disha's extremely cold energy, but the cost performance is very high. Hearing this, Qin Sheng pondered for a moment, and finally refused to give up and ask for the second place, insisting on exchanging Disha extremely cold vitality. One side of Disha's cold energy needs 100,000 contribution value plus 10 million Lei Hu Jin. Tingyang said in a deep voice, if you are a strong person at the same level, you can get a 10% discount. Are you sure you want more? There are 5 halls in Heilong Mountain. In addition to the geomancy and fire, there are also temples. The strength of the strong and the unified level of each sub-hall is the weakest at the beginning of the small holy land. Qin Sheng's accomplishments have been greatly improved now, but for the unified level, there are still many fire waiting. Nothing. Qin Sheng said with a smile, I have enough contribution value to exchange with Lei Hu Jin. When Tingyang heard this, his face changed again. When he left that day, Qin Sheng's strength not only soared, but also went to the ancient battlefield. How can he take out 100,000 contribution values at will now? Thinking of this scene, Tingyang once again took a deep look at Qin Sheng and found that his accomplishments at the level of small holy land could not see him. If Tingyang's inner thoughts are spread out, it will definitely cause a burst of ridicule. It's just a martial artist in the 6 holy regions. He is also a true disciple. The little holy place in Tingyang Hall is extremely powerful, but he can't see through? Who wants to believe it? Good. Tingyang said in a deep voice, Qin Sheng, you wait here. I'm going to ask for instructions. Disha's cold energy is too precious, and I can't decide it alone. No need. At this time a rapid voice resounded through the whole War Dragon Hall. The visitor was a middle-aged man with a frightening breath and a sharp flash between his eyebrows. Smell speech, Qin Sheng, not from sword eyebrow, tiny coagulate, head up to meet that middle-aged person, unexpectedly discover is an acquaintance. Qiu Feng? Qin Sheng had some accidents. He didn't expect to see Qiu Feng in the Zhanglong Hall. His black robe and narrow eyes were hostile to Qin Sheng. They didn't hide it. They were furious at him. Qiu Feng's stomach is not very good. He has been eating soft food all the time. He reluctantly reached the small Holy Land by relying on a big clan. Before, he made some unpleasantness for Qin Sheng's small holy pill in the dungeon. The two gambled and turned over. Finally, Qiu Feng lost 1,000,000 Lei Hu Jin. $1,000,000 of Lei Hu's gold is rare. Although it's not a small sum of money for a little saint, Qiu Feng was distressed for a while. However, there are few things about Lei Hu Jin. It's a big shame. Since then, Qiu Feng has become more unpopular in the circle of small Holy Land, and Qin Sheng is famous for it, even shocked the leader of the church. What's the identity of the leader of the sect? The great saint and the strong once fought with the four gods and beasts. Although they were injured and closed all the year round, they no longer asked about the affairs of the Heilong Mountain Temple. They still exist in a terrible way. It can be said without hesitation that even if it is severely damaged, looking at the whole four heritage sites, it is also a terrible existence. This is one of the wishes that the Heilong Mountain Temple regarded the four beast families as nothing. The leader of the Palm sect was too terrible, but Qin Sheng was able to stir the leader of the Palm sect, which made Qiu Feng jealous and jealous. Qiu Feng, would you like to gamble with me again? Qin Sheng squinted, looked at the threatening Qiu Feng and said with a smile, you can't stop me today. Disha is extremely cold and vigorous. I, Qin Mao, will decide today. Qin Sheng Mao Guang firmly said, don't say you are a little saint, even if the great saint comes. I said it. Shua. The sudden quarrel made the whole War Dragon Hall dead and attracted countless hot eyes. Who is that young man, who is actually in direct conflict with Deacon Qiu? I don't know. It seems that it's called Qin Sheng. Some time ago, it made a lot of noise in Tiangang Pavilion. Later, it seems that it went to the ancient battlefield. Now it's back, but its character hasn't changed much. It's actually in conflict with the real little saints. How can I feel that he's jumping too much and playing with a knife in front of these giants, but it's a very dangerous thing. At this time, there are many strong people in Zhanlong Hall, most of them are registered disciples, and a few of them are more vigorous. They are the same disciples of Qin Sheng's cultivation. They are very proud one by one, including some real disciples from Fengdian. They are waiting to see Qin Sheng's jokes one by one. For Qin Sheng's strength, their real disciples are not very clear. After all, most of the events in the ancient battlefield were covered up by the White Tiger family and the royal family. They are still reluctant to spread such shameful things. In addition to the existence of the powerful unified level, we can know some information about the ancient battlefield in time. In the face of Qin Sheng's challenge in front of the public, Qiu Feng's face suddenly turned blue. He was a little saint. Although he was a little saint after a meal, he had seen many big scenes. Even so, his fists were still tightly held. His brows were so gloomy that he could drip water and his eyes flashed with anger. It's ridiculous. It's your house when you are fighting Dragon Hall? Qiu Feng sneered, and his eyes were full of sarcasm. Although the War Dragon Hall is not as good as the four main halls of geomancy and fire, it's not that the cat and dog can behave at will. Boom. Between words, Qiu Feng's body erupted a terrible threat to the naked eye. His whole body was shining, his long hair was flying, and even under his eyes, there was a sense of obliteration. This was amazing. It can be seen how much Qiu Feng hated Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng's body vibrated slightly, and then the 6 holy bodies burst out 6 light. The 6 holy bodies are already very strong. The strength of the flesh body alone is no less than a little holy one. However, Qin Sheng had to rely on these 6 holy bodies to fight against the overwhelming power of Qiu Feng. It was not enough. Qin Sheng did not hesitate to light up the power of 30 drops of holy land in his body, and his eyebrows suddenly glowed again. Suddenly, he was able to fight against Qiu Feng's terrible power. Even his dark golden armor was awe-inspiring, but it was a bit faint fighting with Deacon Qiu Feng. It's amazing. Qiu Feng's face changed a lot. I never thought Qin Sheng would be so terrible. When I went to the ancient battlefield, I became so powerful. Qiu Feng's face doesn't seem to have changed much on the surface. In fact, there has been a huge wave in his heart for a long time. 30 drops of Holy Land power can't be achieved by 6 Holy Land warriors. What to do? Qiu Feng's face is very ugly. Now it's hard to ride a tiger. He's really forced to suppress it. If he stirs up the leader of the Palm sect, he won't be too comfortable. Enough. At this time, Tingyang stood out and said, Qiu Feng, what do you mean? According to the regulations of Zhanlong Hall, as long as there is enough contribution value and Lei Hu Jin, even if you want to exchange more expensive things, you only need to inform them. If there are 3 deacons who pass, you can do it, or even you don't need to disturb the Lord of the Hall. Tingyang said in a deep voice, there are 10 deacons in Zhanlong Hall. Why do you stop them? Qiu Feng's face couldn't hang, but he still took back the terrible pressure of his whole body. He said in a deep voice, the earth is extremely cold. Is that treasure that he can exchange? Qin Sheng sneered, turned his hand, and offered the jade talisman of the deputy hall leader. This is? Tingyang took the jade talisman and looked at it carefully. He was shocked. He looked at Qin Sheng strangely and said, the main jade talisman of the auxiliary hall? Qin Sheng, have you been promoted to the deputy hall master of the fire hall? Tingyang's voice trembled a little. He knew that the fire hall lacked a deputy hall master. Sooner or later, the vacancy would be filled. He didn't expect Qin Sheng to be the deputy hall master. As soon as the voice came out, the whole War Dragon Hall immediately began to boil. What is the vice temple master of Holy Land? Are those little saints in the fire hall dead? Let a 6-fold holy region take over as the deputy temple leader. It's a joke. If it's spread out, how can our Heilong Mountain Temple stand in the forbidden area in the north? It's a joke. Some of the onlookers couldn't help sneering, especially those in Fengdian, for fear that the world would be different. Qin Sheng looked on coldly and said calmly, yes, I am the deputy hall master of the fire hall. Now I am qualified to exchange Disha extremely cold energy. If it's the deputy temple leader, you don't have to report it. You have absolute qualification to exchange. Tingyang said in a deep voice. He looked at Qiu Feng, only to see his face was extremely embarrassed. The jade talisman of the deputy hall leader had a peculiar smell, which could be judged with a little feeling. It's absolutely impossible to fake. Finally, Qiu Feng gave a cold snort, and left the War Dragon Hall in a gloomy way. For this reason, staying here will only become a joke. Qin Sheng, wait for me here. I'll get Disha's cold energy right away. Tingyang said hello and went directly to the deep place of Zhanlong Hall. Not long ago, he came out with a ring. Thank you, Elder Martial Brother Teng. Qin Sheng takes over Neji and smiles at Tingyang Gongshou. With Disha extremely cold vitality, his holy body will have a chance to become a little holy body directly. Tingyang waved and said with a smile, I didn't help you, but I was ordered to act. Junior brother Qin Sheng's strength is worthy of these extremely cold vitality. Disha's cold energy is too precious. Generally, the great sage has to save it. But Qin Sheng's hard work has a million contribution value, which is absolutely a fortune. Tiangang Pavilion is 100 times cultivation room. The Yuan force here is 100 times stronger than that of the inner mountain of Heilong Mountain. If the whole cultivation room is in the void, there are countless stars shining on the sky. The passage of time is also 100 times slower than that outside. 100 years of cultivation here and 1 year outside have passed. Let's go. Qin Sheng sat on a meteorite in the void, adjusted his work and rest, then turned his hand and took out another jade bottle from the ring. The jade bottle is crystal clear. In fact, it has been copied with numerous and incomparable holy lines. Even on some holy lines, there are some traces of precious lines. Zhang Longdian is really big enough. Even the containers used to hold the cold energy underground are painted with a very dim pattern. Qin Sheng couldn't help exclaiming that Baowen was too complicated and difficult. Even if he had become a six-fold holy soul, it would take at least 100 years for him to perform such a broken Baowen. The pattern is a terrible existence that can be melted into a treasure. Even the great sage is not qualified to use it. Only the king, or even the emperor, is qualified to use it. 100 years of time to deduce a treasure line? It's not worth it. Qin Sheng shakes his head and smiles. As soon as he waves his hand, the bottle blows out a breath of silver. The gas is like the Milky Way. In this 100 times cultivation room, it is beautiful and gorgeous. But in the next moment, Qin Sheng feels a cold spreading out, covering the whole void. Click. The visible ice, even the virtual stars are frozen, and the passage of time becomes longer. Qin Sheng's skin was covered with ice, and his limbs were shivering with cold. This is the cold vitality of Disha? Qin Sheng's face flashed a strange color. Cold, really cold. Not only the body feels cold, but even the spirit feels frozen. It's just that I feel so cold outside. If I have to swallow it and temper my body, who can stand it? Qin Sheng is a six-fold holy body. Even he feels that he can't bear it. Once he inhales the cold energy, he may lose his life. Looking at the whole young generation of Heilong Mountain Temple, who can do it? The reason why there are so many evil spirits in this place is that Qin Sheng immediately exchanged them for 10 square meters. One is that there are not many people who can afford to use them. Even the great saints have to weigh them. As for the little saints, it's needless to say, unless they are the most talented ones in the whole Heilong Mountain Temple, they will have the chance to inherit the most privileged Son of Heaven. The second is that the cold energy in the underground is too extreme. If you are a little careless, you will die. After a short hesitation, Qin Sheng led the cold vitality of Disha to the outside of his nostrils, then his eyes were bright and fierce, and he took a hard breath. Qin Sheng had no breath of life on the spot. In Tiangang Pavilion's 100 times cultivation room, there is an endless void of silence, and the passage of time is very slow. At this time, it's been a whole year in the cultivation room. Qin Sheng is frozen. There is no fluctuation of yuan power, even soul power. It seems that he has come to the end of his life and is frozen to death by the cold energy of the earth. Buzzing. At this time, Qin Sheng's eyebrows, without a trace of life fluctuation, were twinkling with a black mark, twisted and twisted, looking like a black dragon. Then, a wave of life spread. It seems that Qin Sheng, who was originally frozen, had already frozen. With a click, the ice broke. Shwa. Qin Sheng suddenly opened his eyes, then breathed heavily. At the same time, his holy body halo gradually flickered. 7 holy bodies. Qin Sheng murmured, "It's really terrible that Disha is so cold and vigorous. I just took a sip. I almost died. Fortunately, I have practiced the 9 dead skill, which is the ultimate skill. The origin of the 9 death skill is too big. Even a group of the most powerful people who used to cross 9 days and 10 places have to kill red eyes for this skill. It's too rebellious. As long as they don't destroy all the bodies and gods on the spot, they can also return to life. This place is extremely cold and powerful. Even if the real little Holy Land strongman is infected with a thread, he will die directly in a relatively unlucky situation. I have survived, and the holy body has reached 7 heavens." Qin Sheng grins, unexpectedly has a sense of the afterlife, time just passed 1 year? 1 year's practice in Tiangang Pavilion is just less than 4 days in the past. The holy body has directly increased 1 heavy day. This kind of speed is somewhat terrible. Not enough, go on. Qin Sheng's eyes were bright and resolute, and there was a silver cold vitality floating in the void. There were about 10 of them. He breathed them clean. It's cold. Qin Sheng runs the holy body crazily. The aura of the 7 holy bodies lights up the whole void, but it still can't resist. It is frozen from the inside. This time, Qin Sheng fell asleep for a longer time. It took 3 years for him to wake up. Buzzing. Qin Sheng was shocked by the 9 holy rings. The 10 strong spirits of Disha were extremely cold, and they were only about half square in total. They were able to harden his body to the terrible level of 9 holy bodies. And Qin Sheng fell into a deep sleep directly, and didn't feel any pain at all. I prepared 10 squares of Disha with extremely cold vitality. Now it seems that I have prepared a little more. Qin Sheng said with a smile. He took out a whole square of Disha extremely cold energy from the melted broken precious jade bottle. It said that the Disha extremely cold energy can dissolve in water and take a bath. Qin Sheng turned his hand, offered a little water for living from the Buddhist scriptures, and then urged the underground extremely cold energy to merge into it. Pu Tong. 100 times practice room is a void space. There is no gravity here. A swimming pool of domestic water is like a big drop of God's tears. In addition to melting a whole cubic of Disha, it is extremely cold. Qin Sheng raises some waves, and then shivers. It's too cold. This time, Qin Sheng was not frozen directly. Now, he can reach the 9 holy bodies, and his strength soared. Jiuchong holy body, even if it doesn't use any boxing skills and martial arts, can also blow up the ordinary holy land with 1 fist only. Qin Sheng is very confident. The holy body is difficult to repair, and the 9 holy bodies are even more rare. Qin Sheng felt that even in the so-called 4 god beast family, at the age of Qin Sheng, there should be no such level of body hardening. Perhaps, this kind of monster can only be found in the Tianyuan continent. 9 holy bodies are not enough. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, I can't even practice spirituality. In the face of the 4 beast families, I still don't have any resistance ability. Qin Sheng's father is powerful enough. He has cultivated the broken treasure skill Tianyang finger, but he still has to stay dormant and can't recognize his wife. The power and inside information of the 4 beast families can be seen. I want to be a little holy body. Qin Sheng's eyes are bright and sharp, and he is crazy about the 9 death magic. In fact, he has no idea about the 9 death magic. He can only operate his skills mechanically and keep the vitality of the body and spirit. From Qin Sheng's skin and pores, Disha's cold energy penetrated into his body. The pain was very hard to suppress. Qin Sheng gnawed his teeth, even his lips were broken, and the blood was dripping, but he still insisted. Day after day, year after year, Qin Sheng's body was constantly being tempered by the cold energy of Disha. There were many black impurities discharged from his pores. 9 heavy holy bodies. It's hard for hundreds of millions of creatures in the North Forbidden area to find such a strong body cultivator as Qin Sheng. How could there be impurities? It's amazing. 1 side is not enough, 3 sides. As soon as Qin Sheng clenched his teeth, he once again offered a bottle melted with a broken pattern, which released the cold energy of the 3 directions. The whole Tiangang pavilion has a terrible light. That's a warning. There are many spiritual patterns in this 100 times cultivation room for a while, just like thousands of thunder pouring down, it seems that it can't bear a little bit. The 3 sides of the earth are cold enough to turn 1,000 li into a Jedi that even a small holy land should be kept away from. If it wasn't for Qin Sheng's suppression and Tiangang Pavilion's great potential, it would be impossible to bear it. The days of refining the body were like years. Qin Sheng felt great pain every minute, but it has been 50 years. Boom! A terrible wave rolled the whole Tiangang Pavilion. The 100 times practice room could not hold on any longer, sending out a terrible wave. Dong! 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 The ancient clock of Heilong Mountain Temple rang. Many strong people showed a touch of consternation, and then showed a smile. A new great saint is born? Only after the birth of the great sage, the ancient bell will automatically ring to report to the entire North restricted area. In the North forbidden area, the birth of a great saint is also a gratifying thing, because the laws of heaven are broken. Yuan force and practice are far inferior to that of heaven and Yuan continent, and it is extremely difficult to become a great saint. A great sage, even in the family of 4 gods and beasts, is also a big crocodile, worthy of their close. Happy event, great event! Many of the powerful people in the closed Heilong Mountain Temple are waking up and excited. Is there a new great saint born? In the fire hall, Morong Yan, who is dressed in exquisite fire-red war robe, shows a touch of shock on the face of the peerless city. Who is Morong Yan? How the world has never seen it, now it is shocked by the ancient clock of Heilong Mountain Temple. Dong! 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 The sound of the ancient clock continued, and it struck 108 times all the time. It's really powerful. I knocked 108 times. Morong Smoke. Morong Smoke gasped, who is it? In fact, it's not only Morong Smoke, but also other great saints in Heilong Mountain Temple have been awakened, and they are communicating with each other one by one. In the temple, an extremely powerful man, his face is red and red. His armor is actually made of complicated spiritual patterns, accompanied by tens of thousands of stars. In fact, it is the power of Holy Land. How strong should tens of thousands of drops of Holy Land be? The ordinary martial artists in Holy Land, even if they have relatively high talent, only have about 10 drops of Holy Land power. The peak of small Holy Land, like Jiehui, is also the top group in the whole small Holy Land circle, but only smelt 100 drops of Holy Land power. Of course, the real peerless monster, even in the small Holy Land, also has terrible strength. Like Qin Sheng's father, Qin Zhongtian is the one. He hit Jiehui hard with a slap, causing the latter to die and burn hundreds of drops of Holy Land power to escape. However, the palmist of Heilong Mountain Temple has refined tens of thousands of drops of holy power, and it's only the tip of the iceberg. No one knows if the palmist has hidden power. Cough. The palm master coughed black blood. He was poisoned, but his face showed a touch of ecstasy. Qin Sheng of the fire hall? Ha ha ha, okay. Really good. Just to promote the little Holy Land, you can also stir the ancient bell, and also ring 108 times. The master of the Palm sect couldn't help laughing wildly and said, I thought that Qin Sheng had only absolute talent in alchemy, but I didn't expect that he was so terrible in practice. It's worthy of being a dragon, a phoenix, a phoenix. How could the son of Qin Zhongtian and Jiang Lingyu be mediocre? Qin Sheng's identity is not a secret for the upper class. In the first place, Qin Zhongtian was too dazzling. Even though the legend of Qin Zhongtian was rarely spread in the forbidden area in the north, for the circle of their great holy land, there had been a huge wave. In particular, the ancient battlefield was exiled by the 4-beast family, which actually became the territory of Qin Zhongtian. How could the White Tiger family resist Qin Zhongtian's fierce fight for love? Or Bright or Dark also don't know how many strong people have been dispatched, but none of them left the ancient battlefield alive. It was really spectacular that the 99 young generation of 4 beasts were hit at once. Now it's only 20 years since then. His son seems more terrible. The palm master murmured, but it was in the temple that the waves rose. No one can enter the temple. Without the consent of the leader, even a great saint cannot enter by force. The ancient clock under 108 rings only 35 times. Ha ha ha, I want to laugh when I think of it. It's weird to laugh at the bloody corners of the palm master's mouth, but he doesn't care, and Qin Sheng is just promoted to be a little saint now, so he will be recognized by the ancient bell. How high will he achieve in the future? The palm master suddenly snorted coldly. His eyes were full of coldness. Those silly hats of the Zhuke family can't be seen by the good Qin Sheng. The younger Qin Sheng just wants to suppress them. At that time, Qin Sheng didn't see our Heilong Mountain Temple. Now his son is here. I want to train him well. Then we will rise again. Qingyang sect, a large hall, a group of small saints prostrate on the ground, and their patriarch's face some unhappy. What's the matter? The patriarch has been closed for a long time. In those days, he and the leader of the Heilong Mountain Temple were killed in darkness. Both of them were injured. Of course, the leader of the Heilong Mountain Temple must have been hurt a little more. Behind the Qingyang clan, there are some 10 families and the legendary 4 beast families. Although the Heilongshan Temple has its roots in the Tianyuan continent, it is now broken. What does Heilongshan Temple take to fight with their Qingyang sect? Lord. One of them was in silver armor, with a moon mark on his eyebrow. The handsome young sage stepped out and arched his hand, saying, "Wake you up," mainly to report 2 things. Oh? The sword eyebrows of the Lord of Qingyang sect are slightly selected. It's impossible to awaken him who is being healed easily by ordinary small things. He said, "Say it quickly." Something happened on the old battlefield. The young man in silver armor, with a moon mark on his eyebrow, said in a deep voice, "A real disciple died." Is it? The Lord of Qingyang sect heard that there was a haze between his eyebrows. There are so many disciples of Qingyang sect. In addition to those peerless arrogance that he attaches great importance to, there is no need for ordinary disciples to wake up in such a hurry even if they are dead. It's not that the true disciples of Qingyang sect are not valuable, but it's really unnecessary to wake up the master who is healing. The name of the dead was Wang Yang. He was a disciple of the royal family. His identity was not low, added the young sage. Wang Yang, he has heard that talent and strength are not low. It is inevitable to be promoted to a little saint, even with a certain probability, to become a great saint. Dead in the old battlefield? The Lord of Qingyang sect couldn't help asking. If it's a change of real disciples with no family background, the leader of Qingyang clan is naturally lazy to ask, but that Wang Yang is not the same. The king from the 10 families, although he knows well that the so-called 10 families were only set up in the family slaves of the 4 gods and beasts family. But in the end, it's also powerful, especially the royal family, whose background is much more powerful than their Qingyang clan. Yes, the young man in silver armor with a moon mark on his brow nodded and said, "Wang Yuan, from the royal family, is dead." What? Wang Yuan, of course, has heard that he is a genius with great strength, which makes the Lord of Qingyang sect stand up. The patriarch, with his fierce eyes, asked in a deep voice, "Also died in the ancient battlefield?" Yes. And according to the information, their death is probably related to a guy named Qin Sheng in the Heilong Mountain Temple. The young sage could not help saying, "Qin Sheng?" The eyes of the patriarch of Qingyang changed. In his mind, there was no impression of the name of Qin Sheng. The Lord of Qingyang sect is a powerful saint. His memory is absolutely terrible. He has no impression, which proves that Qin Sheng has no reputation in the North restricted area. Yes, the son of Qin Sheng, added the young sage. The Lord of Qingyang clan can't sit any longer. Qin Sheng has heard that although his strength is not high, he made a lot of noise in that year. By himself, he blew up 99 Peerless Tianjiao of the four god beast family. Later, this group of defeated Peerless Tianjiao, with the exception of a few people who died on the way, all of them were promoted to the Little Holy Land, and even more than 30% of the talents were promoted to the Great Holy Land. Qin Sheng, who had offended the four beast family, did not die as expected, but was exiled in the ancient battlefield. After so many years, Qin Sheng hasn't heard much about it. Now his son is making a noise, and seems to have killed his true disciple of Qin sect. Even the death of Wang Yuan, the king's genius, has much to do with Qin Sheng? The patriarch of Qin sect snorted coldly, and his face gradually cooled down. Under his eyes, there was a terrible and fierce sense of killing. Then what are you waiting for? Since the murderer may be Qin Sheng, go to Heilong Mountain Temple, directly, to ask for someone. Can you swallow this breath? The master of Qin sect was angry, and his voice was like the rolling thunder, which made a group of little saints trembling and pale. The great sage is angry, and the heaven and earth change color. What's more, the group at the top of the pyramid among the great sages. I can't swallow it, but after all, it has something to do with the four beast family. I really need to ask the patriarch for instructions. The young sage was full of sweat, and suddenly he flashed a flash of fear. Although his accomplishments were the same as that of the patriarch, the strength of the two men was far from each other. I command you to send someone to the Heilong Mountain Temple, to get justice. Qin Sheng was only a rootless duckweed, but the real crocodile was not afraid. The lord of Qin sect said coldly, "What's the second thing?" Today, a new saint is born in the temple of Heilong Mountain. The lord of Qin temple said in a deep voice. So soon a second great saint was born? The lord of Qin sect feels a little surprised. The great sage is not a cat and a dog. When he reaches this level, every great sage is precious. Even for Qin sect, it has great significance. The lord of Qin asked, I come to ask you, did the ancient clock on the temple of Heilong Mountain ever ring? Well. The face of the young saint with a moon mark on his eyebrow was slightly ugly, and he said in a deep voice, according to the information, it sounded 108 times. What? No way, there must be a mistake in the information. The lord of the Black Dragon Mountain Temple can't sink any more. When he was promoted to the great saint, Morong smoke of the Black Dragon Mountain Temple only sounded 9 times a while ago. It's already very powerful. The lord of the Black Dragon Mountain Temple who was killed by the lord of the Black Dragon Mountain Temple was only sounded more than 30 times. Now the new great saint of the Black Dragon Mountain Temple even sounded 108 times? The ancient clock of Heilong Mountain Temple is from the Tianyuan continent. It's said that the power of Heilong Mountain Temple was increased by the king. Although the connection between Heilong Mountain Temple and Tianyuan continent was broken before, the power of increased power could not last for a long time. However, it does not hinder the after effect. Before the Heilong Mountain Temple, it offended many big forces in the forbidden area in the north. Even the four beast families could not wish to destroy them. But why they still live well today? Only the genius of the later generations has decreased dramatically. It's because of this ancient clock. Under the leadership of the four god beast family, a group of great saints of Qin sect directly killed Heilong Mountain, but an ancient clock came out and directly killed a group of great saints. Yes, it is a group, including the great saints of the four beast families. The sky was red with blood. The last leader of Qin sect also died on the spot. Otherwise, the position of the leader would not reach his Hongyu. After that war, the four beast families fled in disgrace, never daring to break into the Heilong Mountain Temple, even daring to surround and kill the genius of the Heilong Mountain Temple, only daring to secretly assassinate. The intelligence should be right. Wei Qingyangzong also planted many hidden stakes in Heilong Mountain. I also asked other forces to put in the dark stake of the temple of Heilong Mountain. I heard it clearly. It really sounded 108 times. Hong Yu's face was heavy, and he could not speak for a long time. He murmured, "Who is the one who has promoted the great sage to make such a big move?" Subordinates don't know. There is no information about the next round of dark stake. The young sage replied. Hong Yu sneered and said, "It will be late for the next round of information. Please arrange for a group of little saints to get justice for Wang Yang. Remember, you can see blood, but you can't kill." Hong Yu reminded that he was really afraid of the ancient clock. If it wasn't for his strength, it might have fallen. As for Qin Sheng, if he can get rid of it, he will get rid of it. The most important thing is to find out who is promoted to be the great sage. The young great sage knelt down on one knee and said in a deep voice, "Subordinates, take orders." Tiangang Pavilion, 100 times cultivation room. Qin Sheng did not know that a terrible storm was gathering, and he was the root of the storm. However, today's Qin Sheng has no time to pay attention to it. He is lamenting, "This is the little holy body in the legend?" After the 9 holy bodies, there is the little holy body, which has already cultivated spirituality and even the legendary treasure skill. However, treasure art is too precious. Ordinary young and strong people in small holy land can't touch it without great background. As for spirituality, it's precious in the North Forbidden area. Maybe only the 4 god-beast families, the 10 families, and the 4 inheritance places are qualified to practice. As soon as the little holy body is completed, my combat effectiveness has been improved too much. Qin Sheng was very excited. In the face of that Qiu Feng, with the help of external forces, the little saint can send him on the road without even using his Ling Shu. However, the current strength is far from competing with the 4 beast families. Qin Sheng is not arrogant because of his strength. Let alone the 4 god-beast family. Even if a great sage comes, Qin Sheng will not be able to bear it and will run away. The gap between the little saint and the great saint is like a gap. I estimate my strength now. In the middle and later stage of Shaoxing, I'm still a long way from the peak of Xiaoshenging, let alone the great Xingjing. Qin Sheng was not arrogant and impetuous, and said, "Then the next step is to promote the Holy Land. Disha is extremely cold and has 7 directions. Maybe it can be used to practice some spiritual skills, even treasure skills." Qin Sheng said in his heart. The so-called spiritual level and holy level are different in martial arts. Only martial artists can practice, and they have something to do with their talent. The higher the talent is, the faster they practice, and the less precious things they need to spend. But spirituality, treasure art, and even supernatural power are not the same. In addition to the talent of rebelling against the sky, there are also various expensive and frightening treasure resources. For example, Disha extremely cold vitality is also a kind of spiritual skill that can directly cultivate a certain water system, and can achieve twice the result with half the effort. If the Holy Land can also be promoted to the small Holy Land, then the combat effectiveness may be comparable to the peak of the small Holy Land. Qin Sheng said in his heart, "Cultivate another treasure skill, such as his father's Tianyang finger, for fear that he can compete with the real saint." Disha's cold energy is used to refine the holy body. Then the Holy Land can only use the 1,000-star pill. Qin Sheng turned his hand and took out 1,000 stars, Dan, directly. In the void of this 100 times practice room, it seemed that there were 1,000 stars floating in it. On the starry sea, Qin Sheng made a fingerprint on his hand and silently observed the 9 death skill. It should be no problem that the lowest level of this skill can be cultivated to 9 days and 10 places. In the North Forbidden area, the Great Holy Land is the most powerful. In the Tianyuan continent, there are still several great lands. They are Shengwangjing, smashing vacuum, rebirth with blood, longevity, and transforming spirit. And in 9 days and 10 places, there are many terrible realms, namely, the Venerable, the Supreme, the God Bridge, the Demigod and the True God. As for the real God, Qin Sheng didn't know. Because according to the inheritance and memory of the forefathers of the 10,000 robbers, he has heard of the true divine realm in his life. He has seen the strongest cultivator, but he was only a semi-divine realm. His cultivation in that year was just reaching the supreme realm, and there was a long way to go from the semi-divine realm. However, the master of the 10,000 robbers is mainly in the aspect of alchemy. Otherwise, he would not be imprisoned by the royal family in 9 days and 10 places for a lifetime and become a tool of alchemy. Let's go. Qin Sheng closed his eyes and soon opened his eyes again. He thought about the 9 dead magic skill and the inheritance and memory of the emperor. Take the Holy Land as the furnace, the 1,000-star pill as the medicine guide, and the 100 times cultivation room as the heaven and earth. Qin Sheng murmured, I want to refine myself, not to break down, to make the Holy Land a new one. Boom. Qin Sheng's eyebrows and heart are shining, his whole body is beating with the hot fire. The fire he smelt contains a flame of death. The general strong in Holy Land will directly turn into ashes. Even if he smelt 7 or 8 real disciples in Holy Land, he will not be burned, but will also be stained with terrible toxins, and will slowly lose his fighting power. 1,000 star pills were melted by different fires and turned into a large group of energy. A blooming flame opened and closed. Qin Sheng did not hesitate to sacrifice directly to the Holy Land and devour the hot flame. It's hot. Qin Sheng is full of light. The little holy body lights up the whole void like a big sun. Outside Heilong Mountain, the sky was torn. The terrible void cracks came out of the storm mat. The naked eye formed a terrible shock wave. Rumble. A warship appears out of the sky, which contains a terrible atmosphere. It's not known how many times higher than Jiahui's warship, and it can directly resist the void crack storm. Who are you from? The reaction of Heilong Mountain Temple was also very fast. An old man came out of nowhere, just like a blink of an eye. He was wearing a blue dragon armor and a feather crown. Although he looked a little older, even though he was more than 1,000 years old, his breath was still terrible. His name is Chongsun Dynasty. He is the temple leader of Fengdian. His strength is huge. He is second only to the temple leader of Zhanglong Hall and the leader of Zhangjiao. He ranks among the top 3 terrible beings. Even though he is very old now, he fought with the 4 god beast family in those years and suffered dark injuries, but he is still terrible. Shua. Soon, the second great saint came. It was Morong Yen, wearing red armor and holding a saber. She was so gorgeous that she was much younger than the elder Sun dynasty. It was just after she was promoted to the great saint's kingdom that the ancient clock of the temple rang 9 times. Her strength should not be underestimated, especially in terms of speed, second only to the Chongsun dynasty, which can rank 4th. The fierce warship, from King Yangzong, is headed by a great sage. His eyebrows are twinkling with the moon. His breath is cold. He is carrying a long silver gun, which is covered with a thick layer of complex and mysterious lines. The tip of the gun is twinkling with terrible waves. His sharp edge is incomparable, even the void is torn. The law of heaven in the forbidden area of the north is incomplete, which leads to the breaking of the void by any great saint. Fu Xiaobing? Chongsun dynasty's face was a little cold, and he said in a deep voice, "You Qingyang sect are coming to our Heilong Mountain. It's been a little bit." The voice of the Long Sun dynasty was not loud, and his turbid eyes did not have a strong sense of war, because he knew that the Qingyang sect had not the courage to play wild on the site of their Heilong Mountain Temple. Fu Xiaobing faced the 2 great saints of Heilong Mountain Temple by himself. He was no less powerful than him, but he was still not timid. He said coldly and mercilessly, I came here to have a registered disciple. Wang Shua of Qin sect, has Wang Yang heard of it? Fu Xiaobing asked indifferently, but his tone was even higher than that of the Chongsun dynasty. In fact, it's not surprising that Fu Xiaobing is young and talented, and he comes from Qin sect. Nowadays, Qin sect is far superior to Heilong Mountain Temple in terms of both its foundation and strength. It's also normal for him to have some so-called sense of superiority. Smell speech, the face of Chongsun dynasty is slightly wrinkled, and there is a flash of displeasure between his eyebrows. However, he has seen many big scenes, and will not put Fu Xiaobing in front of him. Wang Yang has heard that the legitimate son of the royal family, why should we have a registered disciple? The Long Sun dynasty said indifferently, did our registered disciple offend him? Let Wang Yang come and talk to me in person. Fu Xiaobing said coldly, he died. He was killed by a registered disciple named Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng? Long Sun dynasty and Morongyan looked at each other, and finally Long Sun dynasty shook his head and said, Qin Sheng is already the deputy hall master of our fire hall, not a cat and a dog. Please go back. Fu Xiaobing sneered and said, I've heard of you for a long time in the Long Sun dynasty. I've wanted to learn from you for a long time. The cold and arrogant voice resounded through the whole Heilong Mountain, so that countless disciples of Heilong Mountain Temple could hear it clearly. Chongsun dynasty's face was a little gloomy. He never expected that Fu Xiaobing from Qin sect should be so arrogant and domineering. He was so arrogant that he didn't put Chongsun dynasty as an old saint in his eyes. Chong. Morong Yanjiao's body moved slightly. She stepped out and left the temple, opposite Fu Xiaobing's remote control, saying, as you wish. The red saber gives out a terrible breath of pressure and light, illuminating the whole Heilong Mountain. Like a bloody dragon awakening, it deeply shocked the disciples of the temple of Heilong Mountain. In fact, even Fu Xiaobing's face slightly changed. Of course, he had heard that Morong Smoke in the fire hall was a new great saint. Naturally, he also derived the sound of 108 ancient bells from her. Before Fu Xiaobing's provocation, it would be disgraceful for him to shrink back now. But if he fought hard here, it might cost some ancient artifacts in the Heilong Mountain Temple. At that time, the four god-beast family had also killed many people here. At first, Fu Xiaobing just wanted to frighten Chongsun dynasty, let him eat shriveled, and then hand over Qin Sheng, so that he could do the job. It never occurred to me that Morong Yan, the new great saint, was so fierce. He drew his sword directly and said evil things to each other. Morong Yan, you are just a new great saint who wants to challenge me. Soon, Fu Xiaobing took back his scruples and said with a sneer, you are not qualified to let Chongsun Chao come out and fight in the forbidden area and wasteland? In the Long Sun dynasty, if you win, we, the Qingyang clan, will do it. Okay? As soon as the voice fell, Fu Xiaobing shot away. He wanted to leave here. He was a great saint. In the Heilong Mountain Temple, he absolutely dared not be too arrogant. He was not afraid of 10,000. Just in case, he startled the ancient artifacts lying dormant in the Heilong Mountain Temple. Those ancient implements, especially the legendary ancient clock, once awakened, will inspire no power, which is absolutely terrible. This is the Lord of Qin sect, which has been emphasized again and again. Fu Xiaobing's strength is very strong, but he is not an idiot. So anxious to leave? At this time, a thoughtful and somewhat lazy voice sounded in Fu Xiaobing's ear. Who is it? Fu Xiaobing's face changed wildly. His speed was in the Holy Land, and he was also a strong man. However, it never occurred to him that someone approached him silently and colorless. A shadow came from far away, making Fu Xiaobing's eyes round. Then he saw a dazzling golden sun burning around him. Sniff. The fiery golden flame directly cracks the void, and a strong pressure suddenly covers the whole Heilong Mountain Temple. Dong! 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 The ancient clock in the deepest part of Heilong Mountain Temple contains supreme power. The ancient clock that has killed many great saints rings again, and it is a continuous bell. Another 108? Morong Yan and Chongsun dynasty looked at each other, their faces were full of shock. At the same time, Fu Xiaobing has been frightened for a long time. The big round of sun around him, just looking at the fluctuation of Yuanli's breath, seems to be stronger than himself? How could it be? Fu Xiaobing opened his eyes and felt a stabbing pain. He couldn't see clearly what the mysterious strong man was. Buzzing. The golden light gradually dissipated, and finally it showed its true appearance. It was a handsome young man with dark golden armor and a retro atmosphere. His straight body was sharper than a silver gun on Fu Xiaobing's back. He had a passage of scripture on his brow, and he didn't know whether it was a holy stripe or a legendary treasure stripe. In fact, it was impossible to see through the strength of Fu Xiaobing. Who are you? Fu Xiaobing immediately grasped a silver gun of his own. He even looked at the young man in front of him with a very frightened look. Who am I? Qin Sheng smiled indifferently and pulled out a joking arc from the corner of his mouth. Didn't you just look for me? He asked. Hearing this, Fu Xiaobing's face was white with fright, and then there was another suspicion. He said in a deep voice, Are you Qin Sheng? How could you be Qin Sheng? That Fu Xiaobing is a great saint in the hall. His voice is shaking. He is obviously frightened. It's obvious that Fu Xiaobing knows that the young man in front of him just let the ancient clock of Heilong Mountain Temple ring 108 times. But how could this young man be Qin Sheng? Is Qin Sheng just a minion in Holy Land? Fu Xiaobing was puzzled. According to the information, Qin Sheng's strength was not as strong as before. In Qin Yongzong's opinion, even a little sage could take Qin Sheng at will. But how could this be the case? According to Qin Sheng's current fluctuation of Yuanli breath, a finger can crush and explode a real saint. If it's fake, I'm Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng grinned and said, Qin Zhongtian's son. Qin Sheng's voice was not loud, but he was able to spread all over the scope of the Heilong Mountain Temple. In the other 3 inheritance areas, even the 4 beast families also planted many dark stakes. When they knew the secret, they immediately looked furious, took out the communication tools, and announced the whole forbidden area in the north. Qin Zhongtian, the name of the forbidden area in the whole north area more than 10 years ago, was helpless and had no background of any big family. He was alone and killed the young generation of 99 4-beast families. This matter, too shocked. However, it was soon covered up by the 4 beast families. However, how could the strong at the level of Great Holy Land not know? Fu Xiaobing took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Even so, you will undoubtedly kill our disciples of Qingyang sect. Pa! Before Fu Xiaobing could speak, he was slapped, then his body flew backward, and the great holy power woke up, and he could barely suppress it. Otherwise, he plunged into the temple of Heilong Mountain. Qin Sheng, do you smoke me? Fu Xiaobing covers his red and swollen face, first disbelief and astonishment, then anger and iron. Qin Sheng squinted and looked at his palm. He had some accidents. He spent such a long time in Tiangang Pavilion's 100 times training room, and became a small holy body and a small holy land. He had expected that his strength was far beyond the small holy land, and even better than some of the big holy places. But he never thought that Fu Xiaobing could be so easily slapped. Too easy, too weak. Qin Sheng murmured, as if he was telling himself, as if he had not put Fu Xiaobing in his eyes. Seeing this scene, Fu Xiaobing's anger was completely ignited. He turned a silver gun into a silver dragon. Every step he took, the void split. The direction of the silver gun was death. Too slow. Qin Sheng didn't even use the hot eyes. He sneered and said, "You can know that those who insult others will always insult them." On the void there was Qin Sheng's cold and merciless voice. Fu Xiaobing heard it, and immediately showed a touch of ridicule. He killed Qin Sheng, but in the next moment, the ridicule on his face solidified, because he saw a golden hand flash out. No, it should be thousands of times faster than lightning. Woo-woo. The golden hand destroyed the void, crushed the void, pinched Fu Xiaobing's throat, and made his face red instantly. As a great saint, he could not breathe for a long time, but he was suppressed by the golden hand. Qin Sheng. Fu Xiaobing's eyes were almost staring out. His face was full of disbelief. He had no idea that Qin Sheng was so strong. Who is this Fu Xiaobing, but a great saint? His strength is so terrible. Besides, the great saint is no more powerful than the little saint. He was pinched in the throat in a flash. At this moment, he was shocked and angry, lighting up 1,000 drops of holy power in his body. Rumble. The whole void is blown open. The power of 1,000 drops of holy land power is not affordable by ordinary little holy land strongmen. However, such terrible pressure can only make Qin Sheng frown. His little holy body is solid and indestructible, much stronger than the ordinary big holy land body. Fu Xiaobing is just a great saint born in the past 100 years. He is not strong as the traditional great saint, but he is still much stronger than the ordinary little holy land. Dare to resist? Qin Sheng felt more powerful than ever before. With a strong twist and a click of golden hand, Fu Xiaobing's neck was directly twisted and 9 dead qi invaded. Fu Xiaobing's internal force was sucked dry, crumbling, and his blood cultivation exploded, and he suddenly became a useless man. Bang! Qin Sheng threw Fu Xiaobing like a dead dog on the ground and raised dust all over the sky. The whole Heilong Mountain Temple was silent. The young generation from Qingyang sect were stunned one by one. Not only them, but also the Chongsun dynasty and Murong Smoke were petrified. A great sage was abandoned in the wave room? Murong Yan's face was dull. Even if she saw it with her own eyes, she couldn't believe it. She was shocked. In fact, she was very optimistic about Qin Sheng and thought that he had a bright future. However, she never thought that Qin Sheng's progress was so fast. It's only a few months' practice in the 100 times practice room of Tiangang Pavilion, but it has become so strong? Across a large realm, Fu Xiaobing was abandoned in the wave. Even though Murong Yan may be sure to defeat Fu Xiaobing, but she has no absolute assurance, which has such a devastating effect. I'm useless? Fu Xiaobing was in great pain. He became very old and his blood was decaying. He had only a few days left. He was not far from death. He crushed the jade talisman for help and let the leader of Qingyang sect come to avenge him. Qin Sheng naturally took this scene back to the bottom of his eyes and sneered at it. Looking at his golden hand, he just used his little holy body. He had such a terrible power that he could abandon a great saint with his hands in his hands. In fact, Qin Sheng was shocked by this. Since we have reached the little holy land and met the Father's requirements for ourselves, there is no need to endure any more. Qin Sheng and Qin Zhongtian sympathized with each other for such a long time. That's just a dog of the 4-beast family. The clan built by his retired servant chased his father back that year. This breath naturally came out. It's a big deal. I'll report it to the leader. You can watch it here. Chongsun dynasty's face was a little ugly. In his waving, he abandoned a great sage of Qingyang sect. He gave them a bad breath for Heilong Mountain Temple. It was a great joy. However, it is also the great sage of Qingyang sect, especially the 4 legendary beast families behind Qingyang sect. That kind of behemoth is not what the Heilong Mountain Temple can contend with at present. Good. Hearing this, Morong Yan's face was very dignified. Boom! At this time a tiger roaring voice resounded through the sky, the void split, a chariot fell from the sky, there were hundreds of miles of black tiger shadow behind. Descendants of the remaining evils, you have the blood of a bitch in your body, and dare to be fierce? Inside the chariot, a middle-aged man wearing a white gold robe and not angry with himself came out. His eyebrows and heart had a shining black tiger mark. His breath was powerful and invincible. He was no more powerful than Fu Xiaobing. Qin Sheng looked up at the middle-aged man with black tiger mark on his eyebrow and frowned, showing a look of displeasure. He was deeply hostile to him. He sneered, "White dogs." When they heard this, they were completely lying, especially the Long Sun dynasty. They immediately wanted to kill Qin Sheng and said, "Qin Sheng should not talk nonsense. He is a hundredly senior black tiger from the white tiger family." Hundredly Black Tiger's face was gloomy. He glanced at Chong Sun Chao, and his fingers flicked. A shockwave that was invisible to the naked eye burst out and fell on Chong Sun Chao. Chong Sun Chao's body collapsed instantly, even his soul light was unstable. Mole Ant, also deserve to mention my name? The hundredly Black Tiger is so domineering that the Long Sun dynasty in the great holy land of Tunguen fell down. The Chongsun dynasty was in despair, and his pupils enlarged rapidly. He was the temple master of the Wind Hall. His strength was also a strong one in the great holy land. He refined 1,500 drops of holy land power in his body. However, he never thought that his pinky could not stand in front of the hundredly Black Tiger from the white tiger family. Shua. Qin Sheng stepped out step by step and held on to the Long Sun dynasty where life was dying. He whispered, "Don't worry, you can't die with me." Ha ha, it's worthy of being the descendant of lowly people. The language is still so arrogant. Hundredly Black Tiger sneered, and did not stop Qin Sheng from saving people, but was gloating. The crazy operation of the 9 Death Spirit turned the decline of the life breath of the Long Sun dynasty in an instant, and gradually came back to life. Not only that, the body also recovered like spring. He was old and weak. Unexpectedly, after the transformation of the 9 Death Spirit, he had a second glow. Spring? Well? The hundredly Black Tiger didn't believe it. He frowned and sneered, "You bastard, you have some abilities. Your father made a lot of profits in our white tiger family. There is a terrible secret in the hundredly Black Tiger road. Qin Zhongtian is too powerful." Even though 99 peerless talents of the 4 gods and beasts family were killed in those years, they still made a lot of profits in the white tiger family's nest. If it's not from the mouth of a hundredly Black Tiger, who would believe it? Today, I want you to spit it out with interest. The voice of a hundredly Black Tiger just dropped, and immediately started. He fell from the sky and slapped Qin Sheng. Rumble. The mountain collapses, the void collapses, and countless thunders and void powers escape everywhere, which makes the forbidden system of Heilong Mountain Temple activated, and the light of 10,000 holy lines bursts. The Black Tiger is hundreds of miles long. It comes into the world like a god and a devil, destroying the sky and destroying the earth. Qin Sheng, let's run. We can't support it. Long Dewey offered the Tai real stove and put it on top. He also gained many benefits in Tiangang Pavilion and recovered to the level of the Great Holy Land. Bang! Tai real stove is hit and flies. Dragon Dawei spits blood and gets hurt. The shockwave that can be seen by the naked eye sweeps the whole Heilong Mountain Temple, and countless holy stripe arrays are destroyed. Outside the mountain, 600,000 working disciples are in the disaster area, and half of them die at once. That's 300,000 living creatures. They are killed by the shockwave that destroys the sky and destroys the earth. Qin Sheng's eyes were red. The hundredly black tiger from the white tiger family was really ruthless. He said, "A white dog is enough. I'm going to kill a dog today." Cut. Qin Sheng urged the stone sword to light up all the holy power in his body and the whole sky. A group of onlookers, including Morong Yen, were also stupid. Even refining 3,000 drops of holy land power? Morong's white jade-like hand covers his lips. His face is unbelievable. 3,000 drops of holy land power, even the strong of the great holy land, is extremely powerful. Morong smoke is only refining 1,500 drops of holy land power, just a little stronger than that Fu Xiaobing. Now Qin Sheng is just a small holy land, and he has refined 3,000 drops of holy land power. If he can reach the great holy land in the future, can he be compared with the leader of the 4 inheritance places in an instant? It's a rare genius, and it's my great fortune in the Heilong Mountain Temple. The Long Sun dynasty could not help sighing. 100ly Black Tiger also startled, his face was very gloomy, his one bash hit flew the Tai real stove, although let Long Dawei hurt, but his own tiger mouth is also the blood, also is injured, is only a Donlu, unexpectedly so hard, certainly is the treasure. Then Qin Sheng lit up the holy land power of 3,000 drops in his body, and his face was shocked. He was also one of the strongest talents of the white tiger family. However, when he was in the little holy land, he was not so terrible at all. At most, he was only 30% of Qin Sheng's strength. Moreover, Qin Sheng also refined into a small holy body, and he could compete with a real saint only by his body. If we add 3,000 drops of holy land power, it will not be difficult for Fu Xiaobing to be abandoned between turns. This son must strangle in the cradle. Wily Black Tiger even showed his intention to kill. Qin Zhongtian was scary enough in those days, and now Qin Sheng is even more terrible. Even those talents from the Tianyuan continent seem to be a little dark compared with Qin Sheng. Chong. 100ly Black Tiger drew his sword. A black war sword depicts a hidden treasure pattern on the surface. Without activation, the void began to collapse. Cut. The 100ly Black Tiger didn't hesitate, and the lion fought the rabbit with all his strength. Besides, the other side was Qin Zhongtian's son, which was definitely a great threat to the white tiger family. The light of the sword is black, and there is no terrible power in the imagination to be released. However, the sky seems to be stagnant. Without the passage of time, Qin Sheng's face changes dramatically. He urges the 9 dead magic power, activates the imperial sword breath of the eyebrow, and the stone sword becomes dazzling. The 2 sword lights collided in countless hot eyes. Qin Sheng was hit and killed, and his body collapsed. There was no damage to Shijian, but his hand was broken. Cough. Qin Sheng suffered from an internal injury. He coughed up blood continuously and looked at the black tiger in a daze. He was shocked. This 100ly Black Tiger is really strong. Qin Sheng is in direct conflict with him, which is not a level existence at all. Not dead? The 100ly Black Tiger felt chest tightness for a while. In fact, he was also uncomfortable. His arm was slightly tingling when lifting the sword. Obviously, he felt some loss of strength. He had not concealed his strength. In addition to the fact that the 6,000 drops of holy land power in his body had not been lit, it was a strong one. Then one more sword. 100ly Black Tiger's face is full of fury. In a few decades, I'm afraid that the clan leader can't suppress him. Ha ha, Bailey Black Tiger, you are really shameless. You mean to bully the younger generation because of the old generation's grudges? At this time a cold voice came, the void split, and a strong man came out of it directly. How strong is it to cross the void only by body? The cold man looks like Qin Sheng at 7 or 8 points. He is in dark gold armor, with no weapons on his back. He looks down at the black tiger. Qin. The hundredly black tiger was startled. He had not seen Qin for many years. It was Qin who defeated him, and he was defeated. It can be said that it was not a level existence at all. Hundredly black tiger stared at Qin, eyes bright and blood red, as if remembering the humiliation of that year, but when he saw that Qin had also reached the great Holy Land, he seemed to be much better than himself in terms of the terrible fluctuation of yuan power. He didn't dare to be angry for a while. Who dares to hurt my son? Above the sky, it splits again, and a phoenix chariot comes down from the sky. At the same time, a woman looks in her early 30s. She wears the phoenix's robe and is absolutely gorgeous. Her breath is hot. Even the void is ignited. Jianlingyu? The face of Bailey Black Tiger changed again. He said in a deep voice, "Listen to my explanation." Pa. Between the electric light and the fire stone, Jianlingyu slaps the hundredly black tiger fiercely. The speed is as fast as a blink. The hundredly black tiger has no reaction ability at all. This is my mother? Qin Sheng's 9-death magical skill soon healed the body, which was in danger of collapse. This kind of skill is really strong, but its killing power is weak. It's not like treasure art, it can destroy heaven and earth directly. Jianlingyu's beautiful eyes were wet in a moment. The saint daughter of the four-beast family, now seeing Qin Sheng again, cried under the attention of countless people. Mother! Qin Sheng has also shed tears. He can't shed tears. It's really not easy for him to support a family by himself these years. The family of 3 finally reunited. Shenger was bullied. Do you want your father to do it, or do you want to do it yourself? At this time, Qin looked at the black tiger in a cold way, as if he looked at the dead man. I'll do it myself. Qin Sheng said in a deep voice, Dad, can you teach me Tianyang finger? At the beginning, Qin said that he would teach Qin Sheng Tianyang finger when he was waiting for his cultivation to reach a small holy land. Good. Qin is very heroic. His fingers are light on Qin Sheng's eyebrows. A section of treasure pattern is separated from Qin soul seal and directly transferred to Qin Sheng's soul seal. This means, this kind of brush, even the most powerful of the 4 beasts, does not necessarily have this kind of brush. This is the Tianyang finger? Qin Sheng's face is ecstatic. He can't help but look at his father adoringly. This kind of means is too terrible. It makes him directly understand a piece of magic skill like pouring water into the roof. You know, in the North Forbidden area, even if it's a spiritual skill, it's rare. A group of small saints, even the big saints, are all fighting for each other. What's more, it's a treasure skill. A hundredly black tiger. Qin Sheng sneers, and a hundredly black tiger takes a look at Qin Sheng. He feels that Qin Sheng's temperament seems to be rising again. A treasure technique is added to his body, which is definitely different. Pa. Qin Sheng made a ring of fingers. The sky seemed to be thundering. A terrible force came directly to the black tiger. Poof. 100ly black tiger stumbles, falls from the high altitude, 1 dog eats shit, 4 feet up to the sky, his face is covered with dust, his mouth is coughing up blood constantly, it seems that he has been injured seriously. How could it be? The face of Bailey Black Tiger was very embarrassed. He was humiliated by a younger generation in front of the public, and the other side was the son of his enemy. It's not only a hundredly black tiger, but also other powerful people who arrived at the Black Dragon Mountain Temple are reluctant to believe it. This is the power of magic? The supreme palmist of Heilong Mountain Temple arrived. He was so powerful that his whole body sent out waves that split the void. A treasure skill is too precious, even as the palm master of Heilong Mountain Temple, he has no control over Tao. Pa. Qin Sheng rings the second ring finger. The black tiger suddenly collapses and is on the verge of death. Still alive? Only after mastering the treasure technique can we know how terrible the treasure technique is. There are 9 Tianyang fingers in total. One ring finger is one. Qin Sheng directly controls the 4 fingers through his father's cupping. Click. The bones of a 100-ly black tiger crackled, and the hard and incomparable tiger bones were crushed. His eyes turned and he fainted. Qin Sheng's face was slightly surprised, and he said indifferently, "It's worthy of the fact that the white dog family is immortal. They have some strength and can resist my Tianyang finger twice. Take you on the road." Qin Sheng is ready to ring the third. At this time, there was an ancient wave from heaven and earth, and 4 portals appeared out of nowhere, stepping out of a terrible figure. The 4 beast family? Qin Zhongtian's face turned into a sword light, which was blocked in front of Qin Sheng. As expected, a tiger roar came. Then, a blade came to cut through the void. The endless void cracks expanded, as if they would devour the whole Heilong Mountain temple. Dong dong. The ancient bell of Heilong Mountain sounds madly. It seems to suppress everything. Qin Zhongtian sneers. He pulls out his sword. The sword light is like a big sun. No, in a blink of an eye, 9 big suns rise up. In countless hot eyes, the sword light collides with the blade, and the sword qi and the blade qi hang each other, and finally become nothing. Qin Sheng's face was a little pale. It was obvious that the power that had just erupted from the fight between the 2 men was so terrible that Qin Sheng could not compete at all. 100 Li Tinghu? Qin Zhongtian did not suffer any damage. He looked at an old man in front of him. He was wearing white gold armor and holding a double-edged battle axe. The axe blade was made of white tiger teeth with noble blood. Only the terrible power of this battle axe, it was no less than the black tiger. Balaton tiger is the patriarch of the white tiger family. It's powerful and invincible. Qin Sheng's current accomplishments can't compete at all, even if he controls a complete treasure skill. Although Baoshu is powerful, it's not invincible. Qin Sheng has reached the Tianyang finger of 78 to 89, so he can walk horizontally in the north restricted area. Qin Zhongtian, don't deceive people too much. Bailey Tinghu he saw Bailey Black Tiger as muddy as mud, and his face sank quickly. Hearing this, Qin Zhongtian sneered and said with indifferent sarcasm in his voice, "You old man are so funny to tell me how much you are deceiving people? Who was it that sent me to the ancient battlefield?" Qin Zhongtian mentioned the past of that year, which made Bai Lidong Tiger regret for a while. He really regretted that he didn't work hard to wipe out Qin Zhongtian directly. Qin Zhongtian, you are so arrogant and domineering. Do you think you can only cover the sky with your hands if you control a treasure skill? At this time, the leader can't help yelling. He is covered with dragon scales and emits a terrible halo. He is the leader of the Qinglong family. He is the most powerful of the 4 god-beast families. You guys, let's not waste time. Let's start the trial of Qin Sheng and his son. In addition, the leader of Xuanwu clan is indifferent. His face is cold, and he carries a snake sword, which also releases terrible power. As for the last patriarch of the Zhuke family, she was a woman. She was covered in flames and silent, so that no one could see her joy or anger. By you? Qin Zhongtian sneers. At the same time, he takes Qin Sheng and Jiang Lingyu by the hand and is ready to leave. How dare you escape? 100 Li Tinghu roars, the mountains and rivers are broken. The temple of Heilong Mountain has changed, the atmosphere has been suppressed to the extreme in a moment, and the war is imminent. The Palm Master also came. There were thousands of drops of holy land power flickering in his body. His breath was so terrible. But his face was bitter at this moment, because he didn't see enough of the 4 god-beast family now. Even though Heilangshan Temple still has many ancient artifacts that have been handed down since ancient times and are still restored. However, it is impossible for these ancient artifacts to recover in Heilong Mountain Temple. Boom. At this time, people thought that the 3 members of Qin Sheng's family must be suppressed. At that time, the sky was cracked and the whole body was black. The palm even bigger than Heilong Mountain came down from the sky. It was so black that it carried scales of some unknown creatures. And the lines on the surface of the scales were so complicated that they didn't know how many times more complicated than Baowen. People are petrified and stunned. They are even bigger than Heilong Mountain. What force is this? Isn't it a great power from Tianyuan? Or even worse, 9 days and 10 places? At the moment when everyone was scared to pee, Baili Tinghu, the patriarch of the White Tiger family, was held by the big hand that came down from the sky. Just like an eagle catching a chicken, it turned into a massive blood fog with a bang, which could not even make a scream. That's one of the 4 beast families. The powerful Hundredly Tinghu is destroyed in a flash? They were frightened and looked up at the startling black hand. A breath of manga passed through the sky. That's the breath of 9 days and 10 places. Long Dawei shouted, his voice was shaking. After thousands of years of vicissitudes, he was able to feel the breath from 9 days and 10 places again. Once upon a time, he thought it was impossible to return to 9 days and 10 places again, or even enter the great wilderness. However, in the next moment, Long Dawei's face changed dramatically, as white as a dead man, and his face was full of fear. Long Dawei said eagerly, Qin Sheng is running away. It's the hand of gods and demons. It's full of the breath of gods and demons. Qin Sheng is shocked by the look of Long Dawei. He has never seen this state of being scared to pee. As an artifact of immortal origin, what's the big scene he hasn't seen? Magic hand, magic breath? Qin Sheng had countless thoughts in his mind and searched the inheritance and memory of the 10,000 robbers emperor. It was obvious that there were also records about the gods and demons. What are the gods and demons? That's the demonized race of the gods. They are extremely cruel. Every time they appear in the small world will become a mess of life and death. The gods and demons have the lineage of the gods. They are so powerful that they are no weaker than the real gods. How could there be a god and a devil? Long Dawei murmured that he had been scared to some extent. In the last era, the gods and demons were killed by immortal descendants. How could there be any fish that missed the net? How strong are gods and demons? Qin Sheng was silent for a while, and then he couldn't help but ask. It's very strong. It's a bit stronger than the Protoss. If it's not suppressed by the immortal, it's impossible to kill them. Long Dawei said in a deep voice. After an era of silence, he died and recovered. Now the breath of gods and demons comes from 9 days and 10 places, and I don't know what the situation of 9 days and 10 places is now. There are some hidden worries in the voice of Long Dawei. 9 days and 10 places? Qin Sheng murmurs that Xia Bingming returns to 9 days and 10 places with Long Wei after awakening. Now he doesn't know anything. Who are you? Dare to kill our 4 beast families. After a short period of horror, the most powerful chieftain of Qinglong in the 4 beast family, he asked with a gloomy face. The 4 god beast family is the strongest in the North Forbidden area. They have never experienced such humiliation. They have a foundation in the Tianyuan continent. Although he can also feel that the breath of this big black hand, which is bigger than Heilong Mountain, is far stronger than him, so what? Ants. The hand of the god and the devil made cold sarcasm. With a big wave of his hand, his speed didn't seem to be very fast, even stagnated. Bang! The chieftain of the Qinglong family directly turned into a blood fog, and even the voice of resistance didn't come out, so he died suddenly. Once again, the rest of the Zhuge family and Xuanwu family dare not move. The stronger two are dead. If they dare to move blindly at this time, it is definitely the act of looking for death. Boom! The hands of the gods and demons did not kill them all. The endless void split and a young man came out. He is not tall and straight, even looks very small, maybe not even 6 feet, a black armor, a dark blue scale in the center of the eyebrow, and the lines depicted are thousands of times more complicated than treasure lines. I didn't expect that there was such an abandoned land outside the land of Tianyuan. The young man opened his mouth and spoke a language that Qin Sheng didn't understand very well. But it was strange that the young man's breath just made them understand. Sir, you are from the Tianyuan continent? Xuanwu, carrying a snake sword, he asked. Smell speech, that god-evil young man looks down one eye, show a disdain of color, cold way, you also deserve to question me? When you humans see the Protoss, you don't kowtow 3 times and worship 9 times? Then, the demon young man held out a finger, and with a bang, the most powerful people of Xuanwu group had no suspense, and turned into a blood mist. The atmosphere suddenly returned to the dead silence again, and it was suppressed to the extreme. The leader of Xuanwu clan was just asking about it, and his posture had been defeated low enough. He even wanted to make 3 kowtows and 9 bows? This scene made all the people on the scene look gloomy. Even though Qin Sheng hated the 4-beast family very much, the demon in front of him was too arrogant and domineering. However, the other party really has the capital to need a great sage with 1 finger. The most powerful of the 4-beast families have been needed by 3 of them. Qin Sheng estimated that the young man of the gods and demons in front of him is far powerful in the Holy Land. Maybe the king, maybe the emperor, or even smashing the vacuum is not impossible. Is there any way to cut this tusk? Qin Sheng sends a message to Long Dawei. Long Dawei gave Qin Sheng a heavy look, shook his head, and said, "Your idea is very dangerous. He is a god and devil. Although he is demonized, there is the blood of the god in his body, which is almost immortal. A drop of blood can regenerate. Besides, he didn't come to the forbidden area in the north. The laws of heaven here have no influence on him." The eyes of the young gods and demons are indifferent, just like the dragon overlooking the ants, looking at Qin Sheng and others. Suddenly, he points to the patriarch of the Zhuge family and asks, "I'll ask you." The leader of Zhuge clan trembled and hesitated for a moment. Finally, he bowed to the reality and made 3 kowtows and 9 bows to the young devil. "Very good." The young devil nodded indifferently and asked, "Do you know the footprints of Xiaobingning?" The chief of Zhuge clan was stunned. She had never heard of Xiaobingning. She shook her head instinctively. "No?" The young god and devil sneered, and then stretched out a finger, and ordered a little. The chief of Zhuge turned into a blood mist with a bang. "Xiaobingning hasn't heard of it. What's the use of staying you?" The young gods and demons are really moody. In this way, all the 4 god-beast families are destroyed. You who know Xiaobingning can avoid a death. The young god and the devil looked indifferent, as if they were telling a slight thing. Qin Sheng's face changed dramatically. He didn't expect that the young devil was looking for Xiaobingning. "Sir, please come back." The leader of Heilong Mountain Temple opened his mouth and said, "This is Heilong Mountain Temple. I know you are very strong. I can't see through, but there's no need to kill here." He had never heard of summer ice. Eh? As soon as the face of the young gods and demons changed, they would need the palm master of the Heilong Mountain Temple. Dong. At this time, the ancient clock of Heilong Mountain Temple woke up. It came down from the sky and protected the palm master of Heilong Mountain Temple. There was a sharp pain in the young devil's fingers. His face changed a little and he said in a deep voice, "This abandoned place still has the immortal clock. However, the new Manon has been defeated 10,000 years ago by our gods and demons. You are just a wisp of obsession. The hands of the young gods and demons came again. They kneaded hard and finally smashed the last thoughts of the immortal clock with a bang. It's too strong. The ancient bell suppressed a group of great saints in those days. Even the king was born, he didn't kill them. I didn't expect that the young devil would crush and explode after several attacks. How strong is the other side? A group of ants, originally intended to leave you a final, pure land, now it seems unnecessary to keep it. The young gods and demons are ready to kill all the people here. At this time, there was another throb in the sky. Once again, the void split, and several terrible breaths came again. Qin Sheng was so excited by some familiar figures. Bingning? Qin Sheng is stupid. He didn't expect Xia Bingning to fall from the sky, but that long way is still a pair of squint eyes. Their breath has soared a lot, and their strength has far exceeded the great Holy Land. Holy Kingdom? Qin Sheng has some dreams. He said goodbye to Xia Bingning that day. He thought that meeting again would be far away. He didn't expect to see again so soon. Xia Bingning is a purple dress, her face is cold as ice. She comes down from the sky like the stars holding the moon. Her breath is noble as the 9 heavenly Zuanv. There are many powerful people around her, one by one, far surpassing Qin Sheng and Qin Zhongtian. Xia Bingning has awakened the memory of 10,000 years ago. Before leaving the forbidden area in the north, she was lukewarm to Qin Sheng. Now she returns from 9 days and 10 places, but she doesn't know how many times her strength has been improved. After landing, she didn't even turn her head to look at Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng's eyebrows slightly wrinkled, but not reluctantly. Today's Summer Bingning is not the Summer Bingning in Dian City, but the peerless Tianjiao who reincarnated 10,000 years ago. Bingning, I finally found you. Dee's eyes glowed, and his eyes wandered wantonly among Xia Bingning's delicate body, which made Xia Bingning very unhappy. Don't worry, you gods and demons have been in charge of 9 days and 10 places, and the rest of you are king. Why do you still have to work hard? Xia Bingning's voice is cold, but she tells a frightening truth. If 9 days and 10 places really become the territory of the gods and demons, countless creatures will be imprisoned, just don't know what the situation is. D between smell speech, show a sneer, way, in those days you are how to kill? Now that the famine is sealed, where can you mice escape? Here, what's the name? The forbidden area in the north, right? This will be your last pure land. Don't blame me for not giving you a way to live, said D with a sneer. When I'm a valet, I can live around you. Chong. Xia Bingning did not respond. She drew her sword directly. Boom. At this time, the void twisted, a dark red chariot came down from the sky, and a beautiful woman came out. She was very young, with a slightly raised abdomen, and seemed to be pregnant. True Chao? Qin Sheng couldn't help shouting. When Chu Qiao heard the words, her body trembled and cried, "Husband!" Chu Qiao was a princess of the previous dynasty. In the ruins of the previous dynasty, she married Qin Sheng's chapel and was brought back to the ancestral place for baptism by the old servants. Unexpectedly, they met again several years later. And back again, Chu Qiao was pregnant. I'm going to be a father? Qin Sheng didn't believe it, but his spirit was so sharp that he could instantly detect the blood resonance under Chu Qiao's belly. That's Qin Sheng's child, absolutely not wrong. You married? Xiao Bing with the sword coagulated into a light, came to Qin Sheng's body, and asked. Heir. Qin Sheng's face was a little embarrassed, some difficult to explain. This is also a gorgeous woman. When Dee saw it, her face changed, and her eyes were all greedy. Ha ha ha, it's really 2 gorgeous women. Children make choices. I want all of them. Dijian laughed, but he didn't put Qin Sheng in his eyes at all. Two beauties, are you still here? Di asked, not laughing, in a loud voice, but with a strong threat. Qin Sheng jumped out and said coldly, where's the local dog from? I want to hit my wife. Well? Di between a lung, cold glanced at Qin Sheng one eye, sneer way, where, come of mole ant, need dead. Boom. A finger came down from the sky with terrible power. Tianyang means. Qin Sheng roared, without hesitation, and made 4 rings directly, crackling and emitting the supreme power in the fingers falling from the sky. Unfortunately, it had no effect. Blood awakening. At the critical moment of life and death, Qin Sheng didn't hide his strength anymore, and the blood power that had been dormant in his body broke out completely. A vast and ancient atmosphere quickly awakened, and the law of heaven in the forbidden area of the northern region madly suppressed Qin Sheng, because it was not Qin Sheng's power, but Qin Sheng made thousands of treasure marks, completely suppressed. Pooh! Qin Sheng took the stone sword and fell with it. The fingers between Di's hands fell. The black blood even eroded through the void. He cried out in pain. He didn't believe everything on his face. He didn't expect this man to be so strong. He cut his finger with a sword? The rebirth of severed fingers makes Qin Sheng's face slightly change. That is to say, the god and devil in front of him must be higher than the rebirth of blood. The breath of empire? You are the posterity of Emperor Jean? Cried Di. I have found no place in the world, and finally find the descendants of Emperor Jean. Dijian's fighting spirit was awe-inspiring. He came down from the sky and didn't care about the laws of heaven in the North Forbidden area. He stretched out 3 heads and 6 arms and offered all kinds of magic soldiers, or magic swords, or magic swords, or magic axes, which was a crazy output to Qin Sheng. Boom! Qin Sheng's body expanded, and he didn't know that he was pregnant with the Emperor's pulse, but he borrowed it from the time of life and death. Bang! Qin Sheng was swept out, smashed the void, and rolled the mat by a void crack. Fortunately, he had the Emperor's vein. Otherwise, his purpose cultivation could not guarantee his life in the void crack. The power of the Empire is terrible. Qin Sheng's power is soaring. The great Holy Land, the Holy King, the Holy Emperor. Several breathing time, Qin Sheng's accomplishments soared to the terrible state of smashing the vacuum, and his stone sword was also changing. Still alive? Dijian sneers and doesn't care. He continues to improve his cultivation. If he doesn't always fear the laws of heaven in the forbidden area in the north, he will reduce his cultivation again and again. If he is in 9 days and 10 places, one look can make Qin Sheng die thousands of times. Dijian's output to Qin Sheng is crazy again, but how could the Emperor's pulse be mortal? Qin Sheng's accomplishments soared 10,000 times in a flash, venerable, immortal. Bang! Di was shocked to fly, he spit out a black blood, completely would thought that he had the Emperor's vein, so terrible. Black blood came out of the body and tongue between Di and then became a forbidden array. He had to use the divine array to refine Qin Sheng alive. Me. Sure enough, Qin Sheng did not block, directly into a pool of blood. Dead? Qin Sheng. Chu Qiao shouts, she wants to rush to revenge Qin Sheng, but she is pulled by the servant. Jiang Lingyu has fainted. How long does it take for the 3 of them to get together? They haven't been together for a day, but they are separated by yin and yang. Qin Zhongtian killed Lin Ran. He carried his sword like revenge for his parents and children. At this time, the group of blood in the divine array even mildly boils, and finally the blood is reborn. Qin Sheng is reborn, and the breath emanating from his whole body rises again, reaching the great realm of blood is reborn. The 9 death skill is worthy of being the ultimate skill. You want to kill me, too? Qin Sheng murmured, his voice full of confidence. This array of gods is just my stepping stone. What? Di didn't believe it. He continued to activate the divine array. The terrible divine flame burned this place. The laws of heaven in the forbidden area in the north were cut off. That was the power of the gods. Of course, I don't know how many times I was weak. But it's still easy to kill a strong person who is reborn with blood. Me. Without any suspense, Qin Sheng turned into a pool of blood again. Before Di could get excited, Qin Sheng was revived again, the fourth death of 9 death skill. I don't believe it. I can't kill you. Di was mad between them. He drove the array of gods crazy. 9 death skill, 4th death. 9 death skill, 5th death. 9 death skill, 6th death. 9 death skill, 8th death. I'm the son of the gods, and I'm semi-divine. Di Qian broke out completely. The law of heaven in the forbidden area in the north turned into thunder. He let it out crazily and suppressed him. But he just didn't believe it. He wanted to kill Qin Sheng. Is it? Qin Sheng raised his head and clapped his palm lightly. The so-called divine array collapsed completely. It's really unfortunate that the Buddha is also a demigod. With the awakening of the Emperor's pulse and the extreme skill of 9 death, Qin Sheng has reached a semi-divine state which is only a line away from the gods. How could it be? Dixie never felt this kind of frustration. Nothing is impossible. Qin Sheng sneers and holds the stone sword. The stone sword finally radiates its original appearance. It's an emperor sword, which was used by the emperor of the last era. The emperor's sword cuts through the void, turns into a sword blade, cuts through the long river of time and space. With a puff, Di's head rises high. Emperor sword, you have the emperor sword. Di Dian's head turned into streamer light and ran away. He didn't even want his own body. The reputation of the emperor's sword is well known. In the last era of the immortal devil war, he killed many gods' swords. The famous emperor sword even killed the gods like a mustard, not to mention the small demigod Di Qian. Qin Sheng snorted coldly and swam in the void. It was as fast as lightning. Now he has reached the semi-divine realm. No storm in the void can be feared. Now you can escape, can you? Qin Sheng sneers, and the emperor's sword bursts out. At this time, the head between Di and him has grown crazily, even his feet have grown out, but they are divided into 2 parts, by the emperor's sword. Qin Sheng, why do you have to kill all of them? I can make my father call you the king of the north. The forbidden area in the north, not even the whole Tianyuan continent, is under your control. Qin Sheng killed awesomely, but did not respond. He operated the emperor's sword to cut the space between him and Di. Father, please. He roared and flew out a piece of rune paper. He wanted to get rid of the golden cicada's shell. But Qin Sheng controlled the emperor's sword, which was by no means a common thing. The rune paper ignited and still couldn't save him. Poof. Die between. Everyone is stupid. No one can think that Qin Sheng, especially Xia Bingning, who saved the forbidden area of the north, the last pure land of human beings, has become a demigod since he was a child. The awakening of the emperor's pulse and the extreme skill of the 9 death skill make him the savior. Boom. Just when people thought that the disaster was over, there was a huge face on the sky. Unlike human beings, he was similar to Di. Even Qin Sheng could not bear the terrible breath. Only with the support of the emperor's sword, he managed to stabilize himself. How dare ants kill my son? It's the breath of the gods. Even though Qin Sheng has reached the semi-divine state, he still can't see clearly what this huge face looks like. Is this the power of the gods? Qin Sheng's demigod body was trembling faintly. The emperor's pulse was not so easy to use. The real body of the spirit didn't move. It was just a huge face. Did it make him lose the courage to fight? The gods are superior, which is not comparable to any demigods at all. Fortunately, Qin Sheng has the emperor's sword. Otherwise, he will be crushed into powder by such a real god in an instant, and the gods will be destroyed. Hearing this, Qin Sheng gnashed his teeth and said, "Your son wants my wife and children. He has a deep blood feud. If he kills them, he will kill them. I will not only kill your son, but also kill God." Bold. The gods were furious, but no matter how much Qin Sheng had done, the gods had already come, and the grudges between the two sides had already been settled. Besides, this is a god and devil. Wherever we go, the killing will spread. It's not you, it's me. Qin Sheng is a forbidden area in the north. This is the last pure land of human beings. Even the gods must be slaughtered. Otherwise, human beings will be doomed. Under the north forbidden area, there are Qin Sheng's parents, wife and children. As for his own life and death, Qin Sheng has long been out of the way. Ants. The spirit is indifferent and ridiculed, but he doesn't see his joy and anger clearly. His eyes shoot out two flames, which are divine flames, which directly ignite a large amount of void, which turns into nothingness. Once infected, even half-gods will turn into ashes. Poop. A flash of divine flame is as fast as lightning. No, it's much faster than lightning. It directly touches Qin Sheng's body. Although Qin Sheng has reached the semi-divine state, how can he carry these two divine flames? Qin Sheng felt extremely hot, his skin was burnt black, Yuan Li and soul force were all dried, and he was about to fall. Is there such a big gap between demigods and gods? Qin Sheng despaired. He felt really powerless in the face of the gods. At this time, the god-made steel, which had been dormant in his body, crossed the world, suppressed the god flame and made it disappear gradually. The heaven monument? The gods above the sky showed an unexpected expression. Unexpectedly, the god-made steel of the last era's immortal devil war came out again, and even lay dormant on a human being. When the gods reach out their hands, they will suppress the steels. If you want to wear the crown, you must bear its weight. Are you willing to sacrifice yourself to save the last pure land of mankind? There were waves coming out of the steels, which were translated into common language in Qin Sheng's mind. Qin Sheng changed his color, hesitated for a moment, looked at his parents and Chuqiao with his own blood. At last, he left his eyes on Xiaobingning, who was no longer indifferent. These people were the most important people in his life. I will sacrifice. Qin Sheng looks up to the sky and roars, lighting up his empire. If he wants to kill the god, he will sacrifice to the heaven. The sky changed a lot, and 5 other celestial steels came into the void. Each steel carries a dead human emperor. Creation, destiny, destruction, eternity, reincarnation, karma, and 6 celestial steels represent the 6 human emperors in the battle of immortals and demons. 1 Tianbei can barely suppress the gods, let alone 6 Tianbei now. The spirit roared and finally revealed his real body, but it did not help. He was suppressed by 6 Tianbei tablets and died. Finally, Qin Sheng's body disintegrated. He finally took a look at the forbidden area in the north. He used his last strength to make the 6 heaven steels into the sky-mending stones, completely sealed the sky, and protected the last pure land of mankind. 3 years later, the Heilongshan temple has completely become the fiefdom of the Qin people, which belongs to the emperor. There was no miracle. Qin Sheng was praised as the emperor of war by the world. He didn't even leave his corpse in the capital, only such a tree stained with his emperor's blood. Some of the most powerful people who are good at prophecy and divination assert that if one day the emperor tree can blossom and bear fruit and become a mother-born emperor tree, then Qin Sheng, the Emperor of War, may return. Therefore, this place has become a place of imprisonment, which is absolutely inaccessible to ordinary people. Your Highness, you can't go there. Qin Tian, Qin Sheng's son, is 3 years old. He is naughty and mischievous. He is so funny that he climbs on the emperor tree. Then he bangs, falls and hurts, bleeding all over the ground, and seeps into the root of the emperor tree. This is the last cemetery of Emperor Qin Sheng. It's the only proof of his life. Qin Tian cried. He shocked everyone. Chu Qiao, Xia Bingning, Qin Zhongtian, Qin Mu, Long Wei, and Long Dawei all came. Everyone in the north restricted area is worried about the life and death of the emperor tree, because if the war emperor dies, who knows if the gods and demons will come again. Wow, the emperor tree is blooming. Everyone was shocked and someone shouted. Is it because the real blood of the son of Emperor Zhan activated the emperor tree? Someone guessed. All of a sudden, the wind and cloud changed, and the dark clouds above the imperial tree split the terrible thunder. Finally, the sun came out, and everyone was scared. Dad. Qin Tian shouts first, others are petrified. Husband. Qin Sheng. Shenger. Everyone rushed to Qin Sheng. Complete the book.